Well, if it is 6:30, which I see on the clock that it is, then the recording and all is already working. Well, I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everyone that is here to the Town Mineral Planning Commission monthly meeting. And we will begin that by doing the pledge of allegiance. Everyone please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Going to have some introduction later in the meeting. I do want to ask if there's any request to amend or add to the agenda or to revise it, and I have at least one, and that is where you see on the agenda introduction of new town attorney. We will do that item number 7, and we will follow that with also the introduction of the town clerk. See it right over there. So that's one thing you might note on the change. I also want to change by adding a public comment section, which I left off, but I was expecting there might be a number of people here tonight that may or may not be realized, but I am going to put in a 3A public comment section if we should always have it available if there is people that are here to talk about things that are certainly not part of the public hearing, but otherwise on our agenda, that would be unique. Does anyone else have anything they would like to change the agenda?
If I'd like to amend the agenda to include, I had gotten some information from DEQ just about the, I think most recent incident bill at the Exxon on the corner. And so I just wanted to pass that out and bring that, just what happened in April, and they provided me with some information, so that are requested.
Yes. Thank you. I will add that to the agenda right after the introduction of the new 2 people to the town and before the public hearing and the comprehensive plan. So that'll be item 7A. And that will be FOIA request or DEQ report.
Yeah.
On the gas bill. All right, anything else? I hear a motion from someone to adopt the agenda as revised.
Motion to move forward the revisions.
Thank you. I have a motion.
Okay,
I think.
could you have them repeat their names for Amanda?
Yeah. I didn't get a second.
I'm sorry.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion from Mr. Williams and a second from Ms. Washington to approve the agenda as revised. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? I will just do it that way unless.
That's fine, like, is aware, give them on the same shit.
Thank you.
Because we do have some new people and all here, and we're going to introduce the others, let me just ask real quickly, since we don't have nameplates here, we're going to have them at the next meeting. Can we go around the table and just identify who we are, so that people outside who on commission, on the planning commission?
Sure. Tony Williams, I live at 331 Mineral Avenue.
I'm Nicole Washington. I live at 661 Mineral Avenue.
Say Cutie and
Oh, I'm Ron. I'm the council liaison, 605 Mineral Avenue. Sorry, I was reading.
I'm Jocelyn Bullock. I'm at 722 Mineral Avenue.
We all live on Mineral Avenue.
Yeah.
Just the one street.
that would be neat, or it's unique, and I'm sure it was not done. Work out. It's interesting. Okay, so let's move along to the next item that's on the agenda, which is the action and approval. Excuse me, election of the planning commission chairman and vice chairman. I was made the acting chairman at the last meeting of the planning commission. We need to make that permanent appointment to as chairman. And I don't think that I should be handling that part of it. I would ask Ron if he would handle the nominations for chairman.
Do we have any nominations for chairman? Okay.
I second that.
Here.
Seems like we have a chairman.
They all in favor?
All in favor?
I,
I'll abstain.
All opposed? Didn't think so. Okay.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to working with everybody. Lots of things we can do to help improve the town. Let's see. Now I'll accept nominations for vice chairman. We have not had that before. And our set of guidelines does not talk of us having one, but I think it's appropriate. I'm not here or they can't talk, whatever the case may be. It would be always good to have next person that will keep it going and not have to determine that at each and every meeting. So entertain hearing nomination for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Ms. Washington to be vice chair.
Washington. Made by Mr. Williams. Do you have any other nominations? Move to close the nomination. Say yes.
I close the nomination.
So we'll close the nominations and all in favor of Mrs. Washington as vice chairman, say aye.
Aye. She doesn't say.
Opposed, none. 4-0-1. All right, thank you guys.
Can you change that to Washington? Can you state her full name for that?
Yeah, Nicole Washington. Yeah, we need the name plates. Do we want to appoint a secretary, because we are now for the first time going to have town employee, the clerk of the town is going to attend our meetings and do the minutes taking and so forth. Our bylaws, if you want to call on that, the structure said we're supposed to have a secretary.
I think it's redundant, but I mean, that's just my opinion, having it being done already, the role of the secretary. That's the biggest.
I feel that way as
No, I
well
do.
as others. Ms. Attorney, do you see any problem with that?
If bylaws say you have to have a secretary, then you need to.
Well, it's not bylaws, but it is the guidelines that were created last year without the full planning. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reach, could you read, do you have that in the packet?
I do. Let's do it. It's second item in the back, so. You look down. At the. Yeah.
So it's very long.
Local planning commission shall elect the chairman and a secretary and fix the time for holding regular meetings.
My question is, does the secretary have to be a member of the?
Generally not. It also, as you said, does not authorize the election of vice chairman. Do you want, I mean, that would have to be amended to make her official, I think.
Well, we can't amend it on the spot. That's done by the council.
Council would have to.
So I would like to defer and say that we're not violating something by not doing something it tells us to do. But we're going over and beyond and creating something else. So slap me on the wrist if you
Dylan.
like.
Dylan. So unless, I think we
Well,
don't have,
they.
well, I mean,
It does say shall, not will.
Shall like.
Generally talks about that. Was that you?
we did, but in this case, and it's a minor point, but again, as I need to go on. In this case, there's no authorization for planning commission from council to nominate a vice. I think you qualified that by saying somebody that we all agree ahead of time could be a stand-in. So I would call to attention to be aware that it's not an official nomination. You're sort of pre-agreeing that.
So we switched to the floor.
I think you did, but I think you do have to elect a secretary based on your governance document.
Can't we make it with
Absolutely,
Madam Clerk?
I don't think there's any thing that would block that.
like to make a motion regarding the secretary position? Motion by Ms. Washington to make Amanda, how do you pronounce it?
When, yeah.
Amanda Wynn, a secretary. Second for that. Mr. Williams. I'm guessing that there's.
Man, the WINN. No. It's NGU. Oh, yeah.
Opposed? 5-0.
You can just write it on here.
And the 5-0, congratulations.
Thank you.
You don't get to introduce you. We'll put you further to.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And an official capacity. Now, next thing on there is about our meeting. The town planning commission has in the past been meeting on the Thursday each month at 6:30. And when we met last month, we had 2 or 3 different people that are new to the council. And it became evident that that probably wasn't a good fit for all of us anyway. So I said in the minutes that since we couldn't come to an agreement, we didn't have to here, that let's just get temporary at that time. And I will try by email to get with you. I wrote an email, but just so that it's not construed that we handle it on by email information.
I'm so sorry that you late. I emailed you.
That's all right. I called the person to talk to and found out Mondays work for some, not the same way with Tuesday and Thursday, being the third Thursday. And so it came down to where what I was hearing was the fourth Thursday seemed to work for everybody. And that's what I'm now proposing. Did anybody want to make any comment about that before we proceed to get a motion to establish that? All right, and concluding from talking with everyone that the fourth Thursday and 6:30 is okay. All right, so I entertain a motion to make the fourth Thursday of each month the planning commission regular month. We'll go for a motion.
I move we make the fourth Thursday.
All right, so Ms. Lauren Ball made the motion to make the date I just specified a monthly meeting. Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
You'll look at seconded it. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? That passes 5-0. Thank you, folks. We are moving on. All right, so approval of the minutes. The minutes were sent out to everyone ahead of. Would anyone have a comment or correction that they would like to bring up in the minutes for the meeting of September 20th? Everybody did get it, correct? Well, I will point out one thing. You go to page 3, then the page in the conditional use permit request is written here that you read the application for conditional use permit pursuant to section 425-56 of the Mineral County Code, which was approved by the town manager for the planning commission. I think that wording is not correct. I don't think.
They didn't approve it.
Yeah, it didn't approve.
Actually,
He received it, I think.
I received it and I was directed to forward it to the planning commission for a recommendation.
I think to change it would be to which was received by the town manager and forwarded. I agree on that. And I would say the next paragraph says open to request public comment. I would say that was open public comment period.
I didn't read it. Technically, I had my zoning administrator add on.
Oh, okay, you want me to change that to zoning administrator?
What does the statute say?
Okay, it's probably right,
I think it's zoning.
you are both, so. Ask me if anybody else has any, I think we always. Oh, they will take 4 on the AJ's thing, lower page. The next to last, one under that paragraph, Virginia and the United States. Leave that as to that. States. I think that does it for me. Any further discussion or any other takes or changes? Hearing none. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes for that meeting, our last commission meeting. Speak up and make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to move forward with the minutes as they stand with those corrections.
Thank you. Tony Williams has made the motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All, and second is the motion. Shouldn't be more discussion necessary, doesn't seem like, so all in favor of approval of the minutes as revised, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, so that passes 5-0. Okay, introduction of new town attorney. You know what? Didn't I say that I wanted to amend the agenda? I can go back to add a public comment section back at 3A. Let's go over it and see it. So before making that introduction, hold on, everyone through seats. Did anyone sign up to speak at the public? This is not pertaining to the public hearing, but anything else. Did you want to?
Is this for AJ?
No.
No.
Okay, so just have it noted that there was no one to speak at the public comment. Period. All right, so now we'll get back to what we've been waiting for, the introduction of the new town attorney, followed by the introduction. Clerk, Miss Catherine Lee. Being our new town attorney. Yay, she comes from having orange and they repeat that. With that, I'm going to.
So, and that's pretty much it. I am here as the new town attorney. I just started, my first council meeting was the October meeting. I tell you, I have on my black jacket because I feel like I'm always the doom and gloom. But I hope that you should all have contact information for me. If not, I'll make sure I send that out to all of you. And I am here if there are any questions on legal matters. I represent town council in that, or the town through the body of town council. Insofar as you are an advisory body to the town council, I am able to be of assistance. I talked to Mr. Cubey. The intention is for me to attend 2, 3, 4 of these meetings, just so I can get to know how you all are addressing issues. You all can get to know me and have me available. After that, if you want me to attend, I'll be happy to do so. But this really is just so that we can all know how things go along and I can be here to answer any questions. I did want to point out a couple of things that came to my attention in preparing for today's meeting. Not picking on you, I pick on everybody. I have been informed that there are a couple of you, I have no idea who you are, who are not using your town of mineral addresses, that you're using personal addresses for convenience.
I can't get into it.
Well, then now that they have our new town manager and our clerk, I'd ask you to get with them. By not using your town email, you actually open your personal email up to examination. You would want to do that. You also make yourself personally liable for any records you may have in your email. And I'm pretty sure you don't want to do that. So I do want to, I would ask that. The other thing is that now that you're getting ready to meet our new town clerk and we have that full staff in place, it's really important that you all not make a habit of emailing each other. I know that in the past, there's sort of been mailing lists for the committees and commissions and the boards in town. That opens the door to some FOIA type violations. And so my reminder would be That if you have anything that needs to go out to fellow planning commission members, you should send that to, well, your zoning administrator ideally. And let him be the filter through which that goes so that there can't be any incidental meetings. One-on-one emails are fine, just like one-on-one phone calls are fine. If you ever need, I'm perfectly happy, have done for other planning commissions to do a FOIA review for you, and FOIA review for that matter. And certainly when the time comes that you all want that, if any of you individually have any questions, officially, your advisor on that is in writing to your Commonwealth's attorney. That can take time. Usually those kind of questions you have to ask and get, you want faster answers on. So I'm available for any FOIA questions that you may have, or anything else. I'm slowly learning how the town of Mineral does business, but please reach out to me. And if I do bring up some of these things, I am very much a literalist. My number one goal is to make sure that the town is safe in legal terms. That does come before making sure you all as individuals are safe in legal terms. But, we want to make sure that everything goes as correctly as possible. So I'll just put on my full lawyer face, but feel free to let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, welcome.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, and the new town clerk is Amanda Wynn. And they're welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, here.
Yes. So I come from the public school system and then went to private sector and financial sector. And now I'm here and I'm happy to be here and be of assistance to you.
Excellent. First day.
Yes, and I live in Caroline County. Thank you.
Well.
Thank you.
So now we will move on to any of that I added. Washington, you DEQ FOI. I think it's everyone's.
Yeah.
Read it that way, and that's helpful.
You have one for the clerk. I can make copies for anybody wants them.
Thank you.
So this is just a pollution incident summary report. There were some talk and conversation about the spill that happened at the gas station in April. It was not, so that there's a difference between a tank leak and a spill. So a tank leak is a tank under the ground that leaks into the soil. And a spill is from like the gas pump itself or the gas person that's pumping the gas into the tanks.
The truck.
Yeah. The tanker. It was, they did a report. It looks like, everything was found closed and okay. There were two reports. The other one was on October a year ago in 2022. It was an active propane leak from an underground propane tank. That since has been closed out. So this just brings us aware of like what happens. I wanted to make sure that everyone kind of understood what happens with these. If there are leaks, DEQ gets involved and they do testing and they mitigate, and depending on how bad the leak, how bad the spill, they will test the water, they will test the soil, and they'll do it over a period of time. There's a store, my store. I wasn't involved in the leak. It's a store that we were running. It happened before we took over, and it's been like a 5-year period. So these spills happen, and so as they what they do is they put wells into the ground and then they go and they test these wells, and they're not like water wells, they're wells that gather up the oil and the water and oil, and they test it to see if there's still contamination. And so, and it can go over a period of time, you can go, 10 years until they've cleared it all out. And what does that mean? It's just information for everyone to have and understand that there is a, environmental state regulatory, they do get involved. They do test and make sure that things are, looked at and mitigated. And if there's a leak there, they have to be, it has to be reported. So this is just for your knowledge and what that means.
Well, I have comments, other people commenting.
Yeah.
That's okay. I was saying that I remember that date because I was at the farmer's market that day. That was the Beautification Tank Festival on Saturday. And much for my wife, who's very much involved in the farmer's market. And so there was a lot of activity there. And the streets were blocked off. You couldn't go across the railroad tracks, blocked up at Emerald Avenue, First Street. Anybody driving south on 522 across the fire department, go out Louisa Avenue to Fifth Street, exit off the district to the east or south, whichever direction towards Pendleton. And we quickly found out at the gas station, and they were still cleaning up and all. So that road was closed for about 24 hours, so that you couldn't get through town, or you couldn't go across the railroad track there. And we wondered about a report. I was surprised that no report had ever been generated and provided to the town. So looking into that to get some idea, it said it was 50 gallons, and I paraphrased to say, I think we said it was the operator or the truck driver's error in letting it overflow that caused it, and it went into the drain system and down into the creek, which is right there at Gibson's garage, and under the through that under the road and down the stream, which is called Freshwater. Can't say that I know exactly where that goes, but I know it goes in the direction of the county's water system of Northeast Creek. But incidents usually can occur. That one did occur, and it's good to have the information on what you prepared as overhead picture as well, showing where the drains are located.
So the protocol, is there a protocol like with things happening, beginning with environmental is there a report that comes to the town, or is it something that you have to proactively actually ask for and get it?
You have to request it. It goes to the property owner, so whoever is the property owner is responsible for it. So not even the individuals leasing the building or in charge of the store. The property owner is the one that gets the information. They have to keep it on file. They have to just make sure that they're doing everything in compliance. The store does. The property owner has to make sure that the store, whoever's leasing it, or even if it's the person that owns the store, whoever that is, they have to make sure that they're in compliance with everything that they're being asked to do by DEQ, as well as the county or town, if there's any regulations around that. So that does happen, and then it's state regulatory, so you can request information and look up stuff. They have FOIA officers to email it.
Any other questions? Good information. I think it's good to know, and it also for the people that are here this week that as merit in the discussion of the top plan as well, later that, things like that are taken into consideration for. Next item on the agenda is the public hearing. So in our package that you have is the application submitted by AJ Singh. We had at our last meeting just overview of it from the standpoint of passing on a recommendation as to whether a public hearing should be held or not on the request for the conditional use permit to have gas pumps at the grocery store that Mr. Singh owns and operates. It's at 622 Mineral Avenue. He's asking for 2 gas pumps with 4 dispensers. And the zoning administrator, Mr. Peck, sent his application along to you. You've had a chance to review that. Application for conditional use permit, page 1. Is saying that near the bottom, we'd like to refer to section 42556 of the town amendment code. Gas pumps are not stated verbatim, rather left open to discussion to allow it in the light commercial district. It is light commercial. All town mineral codes and regulations will be met in frequent discussion to amend this project on the business property of Miller's Market. That is the request. And again, I'm just giving an overview. Saying he's given 5 items and conditions that he would offer if a conditional use permit is issued. The next thing in there. There's a section here, the next page, that provides the area of use regulations in the 4, and the uses not provided for these references 42556. For conditional use permit sections 42557, followed by a diagram, or plat, property, and raw section, and 4 business emails or letters to the town in regard to Brett, and then a personal letter. The content application and that you would like to have a conditional use permit to allow them to have these gas pumps in the light commercial district along with the store that he now operates. So what I'd like to do is to should have opened the public hearing to begin with. I'll say the public hearing is now open, and I would like to know if anyone signed up to speak as far as the member of the public. Mike, did you like to?
Yes.
Please sign your name and whatever else is asked on it. And you have 3 minutes, Mike. And welcome to our meeting.
Mike Lehman, 511 Mineral Avenue. I'm here tonight to talk about AJ and Miller's Market. I know a lot of people are worried about lighting. Being in this business, they have all kind of lighting controls that control it at different times, at different percentages. I believe that this is a very good thing for the town. Especially I have a lot of big trucks and we can't get into the Exxon sometimes. And so we end up going to Johnny's Quick Stop. And we have a lot of vehicles on the road every day. So there's times that we're spending a lot of money outside of this community because we can't get into the Exxon. And I'm friends with Jack. I don't want anybody to take that wrong. I just, you know what I mean? But you can't get in there. It's just the way it is. And then when you do get a truck in there, you sometimes get locked up and you ain't getting out. You're just going to sit there until they done playing their games or whatever they're doing. And so this is a very good thing for this town. I really hope you guys really take into consideration what the opportunity we have here. And, you know, I own a home in North Carolina, and when I go through Kingston, North Carolina, it's a 1 mile stretch. They have 5 gas stations in 1 mile. And they have that because that people drive through there. There's nothing else there, but people stop to get gas and food and stuff like that. So, I mean, other towns do this and it works. They don't have the big Walmarts, the big Home Depots, the Lowe's and stuff like that, but they do have gas stations and food. And that's what I believe that we are right now, until we start to grow. We're a town that people drive through, turn at the light, go to Lake Anna. And if we don't get them here, Dixon Store is gonna get them. So if you want your money to go that way, then, I really think that, I hope you guys take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that's the public? Anybody else from the public here to speak? These are from Thomas Jefferson Planning District. All right, then close the section from the public regarding this application. And can I call you AJ? Sure. AJ, would you like to come? Discuss and present your request to us?
Absolutely.
Welcome.
You want me to sign on this paper?
You don't have to.
Okay. Hi, my name is AJ Singh. I'm the owner of Miller's Market. And absolutely, I think it's been over a year I've been trying to get this through, and of course there have been variations to what I have proposed. And I believe this is the best approach, the conditional use permit. I'm looking for conditions that the town is placing upon me to get this approved. And I believe I had stated some in the document as well. And I know one thing that is not in the rough blueprint is the electric vehicle conduits. They will be placed underground. They are in my quote that I have from my gas company. They are not placed on the rough blueprint only because they will be underground for now. I can place the above ground conduits, but they're actually usable as needed. Because we all know the electric field is growing tremendously in the vehicle space. And I'm honestly here for any questions, any conditions that you guys are wanting from me. And that's really it.
We'll bring that up and discuss it. But let's, you tell us everything you want to tell us, or bring to our attention anything like you just did, that hadn't already been talked about, or is it?
The gas company is already established, Marathon Gas. And I have a strong relationship with them in Caroline County, Bowling Green. And they have known me since I've been this tall. So strong relationship with the current owner. And he was willing to place a Marathon gas station after speaking to the Marathon that's already up the road. And he has already said that he's okay with it. And every company has come through, I've built a relationship with, gotten quotes to see how much it will cost me. I can give a rough estimate of how much it will cost me to get everything done, which is close to $800,000. And I'm willing to invest that money in the town of Middle. $800,000 for the gas pumps alone. The electric vehicle conduits were $40,000 each last time I checked, which was in February of earlier this year. And prices have only gone up since then. So you can add another 40,000 times 2, because I'm looking to place 2 on top of the 800,000 plus tax, so roughly $1 million. I'm looking to invest another $1 million in the town of Middle. And so far I've been giving no, of course. And that's where I currently stand.
Again, we'll have questions and everything. Come back to those. So I'm a little rusty on when to close the public hearing portion. Did I close that after this?
You should keep it.
That was just.
Do that while you're doing,
Okay.
you're gonna do that.
Very good. All right, does anyone have any questions? I actually think
Things is, and some of it's based upon conversations with you. When you get into the conditions, I think you need
Are
to
you
be
speaking to us as a zoning administrator?
Yeah, as zoning administrator, that's my only role. If you decide to move forward, I think you need to tighten up the specific conditions that you're talking about. For example, the U-Haul, either recommend that if you're gonna have this business here, we urge about that the U-Haul would be an inappropriate accessory use of the property. On the well, you should be more specific that it's properly plugged. I mean, that's the concern, is that it's not been properly plugged. And then any spill like that could perk into the ground and then get into the aquifer down below. But if it's properly plugged, that shouldn't be the issue at all. And you brought up that after he puts those pumps in place, he still needs to have the appropriate parking spaces for the square footage of the communities for the zoning. Both items, I think, it's implied, but you might want to be more specific on that. And then again, any other uses, but I just passed it on, but in discussions with the chairman and just reading that, was there something that we should take into consideration?
Okay. Other commission members? Questions or comments you want to make regarding it?
So I'm always like with, just the look of the small town. I mean, that's what we are trying to preserve, but trying to really kind of bring some life back into Mineral Avenue. So it's a thoroughfare really. And I see this as being such. Now, the look of it, I mean, what does that look like? I mean, like, what is the, so adding pumps, would that include like a clean swipe of the parking lot, just repaving everything, cleaning up just entry of the store and everything? I mean, like, what is that? I'm just interested in that.
So Marathon is upgrading their branding. Well, they have whole new branding coming in January. So Miller's Market will be the first one nationwide to have that new branding. And yes, the parking lot will be redone since the whole thing will be torn up. It'll be brand new paving, all that. Entrances will be looked at. I do need to speak to somebody in the town of Mineral regarding communication with VDOT. Because I had reached out to somebody in Caroline County and they told me that every county works with their own individual VDOT. So I need to get that straightened away. And sorry, what was the other part of your question?
Just you answered it. And so with the pavement, that includes the entire like up. So with the parking in front of the store and everything, so that's everything. It's just a clean sort of everything. Yeah, that's. Sometimes people will just patch, do some patchwork, and I just, can't do that.
And if I may, I believe Mr. Peck had brought up a few conditions. The parking lots have been addressed. I think I need an X amount of parking spaces per square foot for the building. So I think I need 32 to 33 parking spaces, which in one of the documents there is, I don't think it's in the packet, but I did submit that to the town, I think earlier this year or last year when I last applied. The U-Hauls, I've already spoken to U-Haul, I'm looking to condense the amount that I have, get rid of all trailers possibly, just only have trucks, and those will be to a limited amount. And the well, I already have a company, environmental company, who is registered in the state of Virginia and nationwide to come look at that well. And of course, the well, to get that examined costs money. So I don't want to go ahead and do that now and get denied later on, because that's a waste for me. Also, I just have my DEQ license for gas operators, because we have another property, so I have to get that license regardless. And that license carries over. So I am already a gas operator. So that's one less thing I have to do.
How many parking spaces did you say, AJ?
I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it was roughly 32 to 33 around that space.
How many do you have marked currently?
Less than 10.
And I have a question on the parking. So do the U-Haul vehicles take up parking spots in the parking lot? Because if they are, they can't be, I wouldn't count them towards available parking spots because we're going to take it for another use. So keep that in mind that.
Yes, because that is a DMV vehicle that can be authorized to park in the parking space. Although since U-Hauls will be cut to a certain amount, I can say I want 5 trucks. So 5 of those spaces are used for trucks, although trucks are always coming in and out. So sometimes it'll be 4 trucks, 3, 2, et cetera, et cetera. So that does open up parking spaces for customers or anybody at all.
I would condition it, again, it was a conditional use permit, that you be allocated so many parking spots that would not count towards the required for the store. Because you really use them. In other, again, when you can set the conditions here, not them. So if you want to be sure, crystal clear, that the entire paving of the parking lot, repaving the parking lot is part of the conditional use permit, I would encourage you to include that in your. Spell it out. Thank you.
In other words, if you're referring to some potholes and things like that, that look a lot better if it was totally resurfaced and painted. Yeah. Right,
Absolutely, sure.
which is already gonna be done, which you followed on. Where do you make deliveries from, or where do you get the trucks? Deliveries to what part of your building, where does that happen? In the back? or-
Yes, it is.
Can I grab one of the booklets and show you kind of? So if we were to look at this one, this is the first one I opened up to.
Yeah.
As we see, the tanks are, these are the tanks. I'm sorry, these are the tanks and these are the pumps. It would be roughly somewhere on top, although I can have them adjusted to move the gas line. Sorry, I can move the gas line across the back anywhere I want to go. So that is another condition to put on me. For example, if you want them over here, I can have them placed over here. It just costs me more because it's extra material being used. I can have them placed anywhere.
Did you discontinue leasing or allowing tractor trailers to park there? At one time, and I haven't seen it since the U-Hauls, but at one time, the tractor trailer that parked there regularly overnight. Is that something you discontinued? And I'm asking that just because I don't think that we want to see tractor trailers parked overnight there.
Currently, he still does. I like to keep a strong relationship with everybody I communicate with. That's including customers, and he is a loyal customer. So I take care of them, and he lives in Mineral as well. Although he works, of course, drives a truck, so he's all over the place. And so I do still allow him.
That's found to be difficult with you or that person that drives the truck along, but it would take up a lot of your space that's in there if you, I mean, it used to park right as you come in from the entrance off of Fifth Street on the backside along the railroad track. And that's where you have U-Hauls everywhere. So I thought I'd probably discontinue.
Of course, it doesn't make sense to have that truck there. So that truck would no longer be there. Especially it's not safe with gas pumps. For that truck to be backing in and out, pulling up into the lot is not safe. So it's not something you can consider.
If it wasn't parking directly. Other questions or comments, things pertaining to the conditions that he proposed that we want to talk about?
So, a couple, so your store this is hours of operation, I'm assuming it's store hours. Monday through Saturday, 8 AM, and Sunday, 7 AM to 7 PM. Is the sale of gas to be prohibited after store hours? Or is it an on? The use of gas pumps to get gas and then the store closed?
Come in, well, afterwards, even though the lighting is a big issue, the lighting will be dimmed, although at our other gas station, we can control which lights we are keeping on, which ones we are turning off. From a women's perspective, would you feel safe driving into a parking lot when it's dark? Trying to pump gas, even though this is the Mineral and you're trying to pass through to another town?
I'm concerned with the hours.
Yeah. Of course.
Let's see, I have something else. So, the lighting we keep talking about, so a condition to be imposed would be dark sky lighting. To be imposed for the store. That would be something that we could make sure we put in here.
That'd be for just the area where the tanks are, or?
That's the whole,
area?
yeah. The whole area. Just because it's. If you're doing the whole area and you're renovating your whole parking lot. It's better to get all of it done. I think, I can't remember if the zoning code has something about, sky pollution, but. I know there's a big thing about sky pollution in other localities and, they were talking about it.
Can we impose that on a business that's already? Like, I mean, Miller's Market is already running. We can impose it as part of the conditional use permit, but that permit's not for the whole business, it's just for the gas, right?
I'm sorry.
It's a question on procedural question, yes.
I would say that the conditional use permit is for the whole property because the parking from the restaurant, excuse me, from the grocery store. And, you know, the traffic routing and everything is applicable to both, and the traffic flow and the traffic volume is enhancing or involved with the other, so I don't know how you distinguish one from the I might ask our attorney, do you see an issue talking with lighting on the current building in regards to the conditional use permit?
The conditional use permit would be for that property, it's not for a corner of the property, so. I think you can talk about property-wide requirements, as long as they're immediately related to that property. Not off of it.
Okay.
And there's been solutions like pollution, I think you're referring to, right? Certain lighting gas for time, and I mean, there's ways to do that. Especially people that are out there and stuff, don't want no bright lights, there's no. So there are ways, there's solutions that will take care of that. I know the other pumps, they pump 24/7 at this point. But the lighting is, it's definitely reduced. It's different. And so I guess just something that needs to happen as well. I mean, you know, just it would be the same as the other stores basically. So I mean, it would just be in harmony with what everybody else is doing in town.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to clarify something. As zoning administrator, as I read the hours of operation, I would enforce that you can't pump after those hours, not 24 hours, because that's explicitly the way it's written here. So I just want to be clear that whatever is in here is what I enforce, not what is discussed. So if you're planning 24 hours, that's what it is, 24 hours. If you're planning on running it, and I mean, the way I read this is there's not going to be traffic or disturbance after those hours in that area of the town. So I just want to be clear that if you pass it with that condition, go with AJ, the zoning administrator.
Who else? Did you have anything?
No, I have no- So I just need clarification, maybe for, just anyone that's here. I'm sure we can answer it, but as far as the water goes for the town, I think on our side, like it goes straight in front of us, but it has to come over at some point. So I don't know where that's in relation to the store, like where the line is or what have you. The reason why I'm asking is because we had an issue at the house being 611 Mineral Avenue, where we were just having a bobcat just kind of go over the property to get up some of the matted stuff that was on the ground. And it was a little heavy, I guess, or the pipes are shallow, and so I don't know if it was a pipe, I don't know what it was, but it was water. And so my thought is, if that happened there, when the digging starts to go for the tanks, what disturbance does that do for our water lines and water main, and where is that located, and how is that gonna affect it, and what's gonna happen? That was my first, just my thought of like, I know that the engineer is gonna have to come out, I'm sure there's gonna have to be an engineer of some sort, but these are things that I was thinking of in that. The other thing is, we have to take into consideration, when the tanks are in there, they're in the ground. If there is a leak or a spill of any sort underground, it's going right to wherever the water source is. And so, and again, these tanks, obviously, they're just rubber, tanks, they're dirty tanks, but this does happen, and it does happen, and we have a public water in sewer, which means it would filter, if it happens to leak inside these, it would filter right through wherever we live. And this is light commercial, so it's residential houses all around us. And that was, I was just worried about the digging and the settlement of it.
Let me try to take your question to Mike, only because I know Mike is the plumbing guy and sells, and I know he's utilities committee. And Mike, I'm guessing the water line is on that side going across her front yard, isn't that?
Yes,
So then water line can come across the road, must come across the road somewhere. Do you know where that is?
down where the fire hydrant is,
Yeah,
that's all new, from when the fire down at the lumber yard happened. And they do come across the road right there. But I think that line coming across the road is old. That's the old line, it's new line down to Brooks Best.
That's what I was gonna say, is also on the utility. Also, if you wanna know more information, like where you have, water lines and everything, you can go online, fill out an application, I think it's, 411 or something like that. And, Hank, will get information, and he'll actually go out and mark the sewer, any of the lines that you want marked around your property.
We had that, I was concerned about feeding into the property from elsewhere.
If I'm not mistaken, we're going to be digging from behind, at Mr. Chapman's house, going down and behind, to hook up into your houses in that direction, if I remember correctly.
that's clear.
I'd like to point clarification. Is, I have a little bit of technical background in this, and I just saw it in electrical physics, hydrology, and water rights and water development stuff. You can't make assumptions about the hydrology and the soils there. The aquifer, I don't know our aquifer, I don't know it, but it may be down, there may be layers between it. It may have, clay lens in there. So, we can't just assume that it goes in the ground, it's gonna go into the groundwater. That would need detail, you can get some soil stuff probably from soil and water, geological survey, and they have some, but I just want to clarify. It could be the case, it might not be the case, we don't know without a detailed hydrology study.
Thank you.
I just want to state that I do live across the street from the store, but there's not a conflict of interest. I can objectively look at this. I've been reading it and studying it, and we know what the process is and what's going on, so.
Are you
Yeah,
covered your items for me?
Yeah.
Who else hasn't spoken that has any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
Sorry, I just wanna come back to the part where you said underground leaks. The tanks are double, triple plated, so which is very, I don't wanna say impossible, but it's very, very rare. Like 0.01% chance that is happening. Although there is a unit that goes inside the place of business, which is called a meter room. You're familiar with that. It detects any problem before it ever happens, and that gets inspected multiple times throughout the year to make sure it's running functionally the way it should be. So the leaks are very, very rare. And how long has these gas stations been here? Has it ever happened?
They get tested and licensed and.
Absolutely.
Ordered,
Yeah, with every place does.
Yeah, and I am aware of that. They do have new technology and some of the leak that happened at the store that we were running was because they're very old and it was back but it does happen. So need to make sure we understand. And,
It looks like both of the skills on here were operator error, like with the chains, not. Yeah, the tank underground.
Right, I was gonna say operator error it's probably gonna be operator error and what it is saying.
Yeah, speak up for that here. I didn't, yes.
So I just wanted to mention, I mean, I love the fact, because I read this beforehand, just the actual charging stations, that is. It kind of, says a lot for our town, kind of stepping into, some new technology and providing for folks that have electric cars. Is that going to be in a way that can be advertised? Because I know you said it's gonna be underground, I guess that's gonna come later, or is that gonna be part of the whole development, or is that something to come later down the line? You're gonna just have the infrastructure to put in place and then plug in later.
Correct. So since my ground will already start up, the point where I can do stuff underground, the condos will be in place. And when I feel like it is time to make that next investment to have them above ground, it's so much easier rather than tearing the ground up again. So yes, it can be advertised as coming soon since it's already there.
Yeah.
While the above ground stations have not been placed yet.
I have a question for the attorney. Where, just to clarify, because this was in the application, where it says that if something is not stated within a permitted use, that then it's meant to be allowed. And I just want to clarify that. My understanding is that if it's stated, that's the stated use and not that if it's not stated.
Well, if you look, again, go to your zoning code, I believe, can't pull it up quickly, so you all at this point know this better than I do probably. I believe that the language in your zoning code is that it can be submitted for application to the planning commission.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, what's it?
And
Actually,
and then it can be approved.
we didn't determine it when reading the zoning rules. What the conditional use permit section says, it isn't specifically allowed or specifically permitted that you can apply for a conditional use permit. This is a little bit differently than most of the zoning codes I've worked with, because what they normally do is they list here by right and here are the type of conditional uses you can apply for. And if it isn't on that list, do a text amendment, add it to. Our ordinances, quite frankly, are not well drafted. I wouldn't have a provision. What this language says in this deal, it basically has a general language that, well, anything that we don't list isn't allowed. Well, that isn't specific. And so I read the ordinance to say, well, it's not specifically excluded. They did list some specific things and then they threw that catch all over. So again, it's a conditional use. This means you're coming in here and it's up to you to make the judgment of whether that's an appropriate conditional use of the property in under.
Thank you, Blair. I just want to cut it off. So, no, it's nice because we have a lot of other things too. That's and all, and wasn't a presentation that was provided to us on it from staff. So I would like to take it since he's up. I want to refer to two things that was mentioned in the application. The application presented section 425.24, which is youth regulations. That's what zoning is talking about. And then the other two were the exceptions sections that are also brought up when things aren't covered in there. I mentioned this at the last meeting that we talked about this request. The statement of intent needs to be read and it needs to be applied first of all. Section 425.23 statement of intent is but one of 7 sections of the light commercial district. That what this application is coming from, that district. It says the primary purpose of this district is to establish and protect a limited business district that will serve the surrounding residential districts. Traffic and parking adjustments shall be held to a minimum to protect and preserve property values in the surrounding residential districts. And insofar as possible, all neighboring business development shall take place in a limited business district area. Water and sewer shall be provided. So key notes about that is it said establish and protect a limited business serving surrounding residential districts. So that is the case. I explained that at the last meeting. You come in from Pendleton direction and you've got light commercial all the way up the road on the right hand side between Mineral Avenue and the railroad track until you get to 2nd Street. You also have light commercial on the left hand side of it. There are houses that are on the opposite side of the street, on the opposite side of 5th Street, and down below the next business, which is Vestas. So it's a mix of business and residential. If you look at the uses that are allowed for light commercial, it talks about all purposes permitted in the aforementioned residential district, provided that multifamily dwellings and apartments must be authorized by a conditional use permit. So this isn't, we're not talking about multifamily, but this is saying that the residential district things are provided. So the housing is provided. That is not a non-conforming act that all these houses that are around Miller's Market are there. The other 2 gas stations that are in the immediate area are in general commercial. General commercial allows gas tanks by right. So let me get to the use regulations. In reading that, it says within any light commercial district as indicated on the zoning map, no lot, building, or structure shall be used, and no building shall be erected, which is intended or designated to be used in whole or in part for any manufacturing or industrial purpose. Clearly, it's not that. But then it goes on and says, or for any other than the following specified purposes. The zoning administrator to me seems to be not recognizing. You can put down.
No, I'm just saying, I made a determination on that.
Okay, I'm just disagreeing. Okay. So, or for any other than the following specified purposes. Now that's in the wording of the light commercial district. And what's listed here does not include gas pumps and all. It does list the food shop is what his store would be coming under in section F.
But in section F, it also says there are other commercial establishments of like nature.
No question about that, but it's not talking about gas pumps and gas.
It's definitely not specifically saying gas pumps, but it does seem pretty open to interpretation.
You've got it. It's, I mean, it's inclusive, right? Also.
Right.
My point though primarily is there's a contention by the zoning administrator and the applicant that this zoning does not provide either for or against it. So therefore we go to the deferred section later on that says if it's not covered, then you can ask for a conditional use permit. My contention, and I guess I could ask the attorney what she thinks at this point. I clearly see that it says, or for any other than the following specified purposes. And I would caution the council, the commission, excuse me, that also in reviewing this application, you're bringing gas tanks and pumps and the delivery, which there have been accidents at delivery, operator error or whatever. If you grant this one, then that is a precedent in my mind for anybody else that's in the limited district, which don't have gas right now, but if they've got an empty lot or want to develop it, they may come in and ask for a conditional use permit, and they may want it 24/7, and it may be in there. Well, you now change limit to commercial to be just like general commercial, and you go further to say that there already is in general commercial across the street, Duke's Oil Company, that has gas pumps and ethanol-free gas and plenty of wide open spaces, cars, boats, trucks and everything. I can show you pictures, most of you probably been by there. It's got plenty for a car, a boat, and a truck to come up to. It's not a congestion problem, and it's in general district, which is classified where that's supposed to be. I caution the thought of putting gas and gas tanks and tractor trailers in that area where that street then narrows down too from the wide area that it was up at the intersection to the point where this is located. And I would also suggest though that if a conditional use permit is issued on it, that a VDOT needs to look at traffic control point, because as I go down Mineral Avenue, there's a hill that begins right there at that Fifth and Mineral Avenue, and it goes up, and you can't see over that hill to what's coming in your direction from the Pendleton direction. So to me, if this were authorized, the conditional use permit, in my mind, VDOT would be should be one-way traffic. The traffic ought to come in from the top of the hill and exit at the bottom of the hill on Fifth Street. If you have traffic going both ways, again, you have potential, in my mind, for more accidents. And accidents is something I don't think that you want to see if there are gas tanks and gas trucks and all that are pulling in there. And if you have gas to leak into the ground there, it's going to be potentially hazardous to homes and all, where up there at the intersection where this one was very back in April wasn't a totally general commercial area and there were no homes. So I want to point out these things is in conjunction with what I was saying at the last meeting. I don't see gas pumps as being appropriate in light commercial district for the safety standpoint, for being precedent before the future applications of other people that want to put gas in light commercial versus general commercial. And I think that it would be hard pressed to get 30-some parking spaces in that parking lot. If you've also got U-Haul and tractor trailer that I mentioned about it. So I just personally have not seen that as something that would benefit the area and the need for the public is not as severe, in my opinion, as as saying that the ethanol gas isn't there and the traffic for boats and longer vehicles you would take away from traffic at the intersection, and that this would be a safer place. I don't know that I agree that would be a safer place. And I sure know it's not as safe as going across the railroad track to where Duke does have all those same things available.
Mr. Chairman, as zoning administrator, I want to make a statement. I just want to caution you for making zoning administrator. I already made a ruling on the reading of that section of the code. And you're saying that you want to make a decision based upon that you don't think that you think it's been specifically excluded. If you proceed on that basis, the record will show that I made a determination.
Are you representing us or you have represented?
I'm the zoning administrator. I interpret the.
You refer this to the planning commission. This is the planning.
I know.
Place to decide and discuss. You and I had a conversation and you talked to me for over an hour pertaining to this. And you are continuing to.
I am the zoning administrator and I interpret the zoning and I'm here to give you.
All I did, Mr. Reeves, was that I see that section. You don't need to explain to me further. You already did that.
I'm cautioning you that if that's the record you're making and that the decision is based upon that.
I think you've made your point. I think you should have a seat and let.
Ron, you have no say here, so be quiet. I have a legal standing here.
Well, I'm sorry.
Excuse me.
This is getting out of control. Mr. Pat could have made a presentation and presented it to council beforehand. I've never seen situations where the zoning administrator didn't prepare a presentation. He did not. He talked to me for an hour and a half at a meeting that I requested just to go over the agenda. And now he's gonna take up our time giving all of his opinions to everyone and talking about what he and I talked. Don't think that that's.
I'm just saying the planning commission needs to hear from the zoning administrator.
Then why did you prepare a presentation for us? Because
Quite frankly, there should have been. Okay. But I have other things I've been doing, and I came to this meeting to provide that information and how we should proceed. If you decide to, all the things you're listing, you can say, we don't want to grant the conditional use permit based upon a lot of the factors that you're stating, which is fine. I was just saying that since I made a determination on that, and
what are we here for, Mr. Pack? We're here to express our views and to make a decision. Is a conditional use permit guaranteed? A conditional use permit, in my understanding, is a situation that's not guaranteed, and that the town should give reasons why they do or don't.
I agree.
But I don't see why we've got to have this discussion.
This is a public hearing to get the facts out on the table,
Yeah.
so you can make an informed decision. And as the professional staff available, I'm just giving you some guardrails. And all I was saying that most of what you said, there are totally legitimate reasons to say we don't want to grant the conditional use permit. I was just trying to say in your one specific deal where you were saying it should be denied because you don't think it applies in this case.
I think we have you write my views pertaining to the application.
It's a part of the official record that's being.
I know, and you've already stated yours, so why are we spending all this time?
I just wanted the other commission members to know that all the things you said, that's
I
one
think
thing that
that
should be cautionary.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. I apologize for the discussion between the staff and the chairman. Again, I believe that I have the right to speak to my opinion and views, and that's all I was doing. I'm the only one. Mr. Singh, with what I have said is not personally directed at you for any reason whatsoever. I am talking about what I think about light commercial classification of things that should and should not be. Permitted, but I'm only one person with one vote.
I do have a question. The hill you were talking about, is that between myself and Vesley's, that little hill you're
Yeah,
talking
the
about?
hill, as I come going down Mineral Avenue from Louisa direction to your store. After you get to the intersection, it starts going up, and right where your entrance at that point to go in is just before you go over that hill. So you cannot see what's over that hill, Bert. Would you agree?
No, only because I get grocery deliveries twice a week, 18-wheelers back into where they need to go. Mr. Vesley as well. He gets deliveries multiple times during the week, 18-wheelers back into his parking space where they need to be. And they're on the top of that hill. Some are on the side of the hill. They back in as necessary, as safe as they can. There have been no accidents. It's been, how long has that grocery store been there? I don't think I've seen an accident.
Not at that point that I know of, but again, check. And I appreciate the discussion, and I did say that I think that VDOT ought to be consulted. I wouldn't impose that on you unless VDOT agreed that that was the case. Now, I don't know if that accident's there, but I know there's been at least one, if not more, down in the area of this street. That's why the ballards were up there about 2 years ago, because somebody in the middle of the night ran through that corner. Don't know why, nighttime, but and ended up in the parking lot. I don't know if they hit the fire hydrant or not, but that's why they were put there to prevent it from happening. I would think that if this is granted, we should probably require more ballards, because now you would be wanting to protect more than just the fire extinguisher, fire hydrant. You'd want to be protecting from it getting in there where your tanks. So I didn't mention that, but if it were approved, I think more ballards probably should be put in.
which of course I had mentioned VDOT at the beginning of this meeting.
We're in agreement there.
And you also mentioned Duke Oil. They have the capability of just putting it there since it's already written verbatim, but they haven't. They haven't set up gas pumps. They have ethanol free, and what else do they have? But no official gas pumps. But they haven't. How long have they been there?
I know they have 4 pumps there, I believe.
Ethanol free, but they're not advertised. They're not a store that it's vehicle. Well,
They have diesel.
right, they have diesel as well, but they don't have regular mid-grade, super premium, any of those that pertain to the consumers of.
I think the issue also with Duke is that they don't have a store there. So a lot of times if I'm gonna be going to the lake, I'm gonna stop at Dickinson's and gas up and I'm gonna run in and get donuts.
Which at this point, it's out of the town. The town is not.
Right, exactly. And then the town is not getting revenue. If there's another option in the town, then we get the revenue from that. And I think we could all agree that that revenue would be a great thing for a town.
Related to VDOT, just so everyone understands, they do studies for towns and counties. They have data that will tell you if there's any accident, what's happened, how many times, what the stretches are. And they do have that information. I don't know who we call it. I think they have.
And also regarding the accident side of it, you had mentioned gas leaking down the drain or whatever. You need thousands of gallons to even pollute the water because the town and county have so many filtration systems of water. You have pebbles that go down, debris just from the road itself. You need filtration systems to get that water clean enough to go inside of a residence or inside of a building. You need thousands of gallons of gas to pollute water.
I got you. All right, folks, so get down to I guess the specific conditions and so forth and try to move along with our deliberation. I'd like to speak or address it. If this is to be approved, we need to work on the conditions. Should I?
Discussion deliberation.
Close that. What's the desire of the commission? Do you want to close that and just go into how decision making, or do you want to talk about that? Just have close the public hearing. If we close the public hearing, I think there's no avenue about continuing the discussion. If it was chosen or decided they wanted to, how's that?
That's why the public hearing would be the back and forth, bringing questions to your applicant would be during a public hearing.
Right.
If you have finished that and are moving on to discussion and deliberation, you could close the meeting to move on to those two.
Okay. What happens if we end up not coming to a resolution of everything that needs to go into this tonight?
Then you can continue, you can table and
You
or
can do that,
continue
even
it,
if
yes.
the public hearing part is over.
Public hearing would be over, but deliberation would be continued.
Not saying. Oh, man.
Once we close the hearing, we can ask questions for others.
You can discuss with each other, but it officially does close the back and forth with your applicant, so you might want to make sure.
You don't want that thing more before we close the hearing portion of the discussion. Yes.
So, I mean, so looks at everything to me, so I just, when it comes to the greenery and the curb appeal and all that stuff, it hasn't been talked about, and I just like to know, like, what are we gonna see? I mean, like, you know, is it gonna be like you drive by and like, wow, you know what I mean? Like the curb appeal is everything, it's important because it draws people in, it changes our, you know, people's the way they think about us coming through, you know, like, so everything moving forward, we're trying to just do things better and, you know, just kind of say, hey, there's the new mineral. we care about this place and especially our main thoroughfare. Is that going to contribute to that?
Yes, again, Marathon is rebranding in January, so we'll have the newest branding. I can email that over, what it's gonna look like. And what the pumps will look like, what the canopy will look like, the lighting, et cetera. Because all the lighting will be changed accordingly for the conditions, of course, but that is just a stock photo that Marathon gives to the new, I guess, operators per se. I can definitely have that sent out.
All right, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
will so much. Do I need a motion to close the public hearing? Just go ahead and close the public hearing. I'll close the public hearing. Sorry, I'm rusty. All right, so, discussion amongst us on the conditions on the decision we're to make. We can just go with that again. There at
So safety is the first thing, right? I mean, safety is definitely a major thing for doing anything. So your point brought up is valid. Making sure that our decision is going to be safe for our community, you know, it's not gonna cause problems. So, as Ms. Watkins just mentioned, we can actually look and see if, what's the record of just accidents in that area? Is that really a problem or is it a problem? And then sometimes we can make it a situation that maybe it's not even a situation, but it still needs to be considered. It really does. And for you to bring it up, just that whole safety issue, it is important. And so I want to make sure, of course, that we're following the zoning, and making sure if safety is key, and it's not going to, you know, cause any problems in that fashion, you know, I'm in agreement. Honestly, I think it's a great thing. You know, the parking issue needs to be kind of resolved, making sure that that is going to not cause a problem as well. I love the fact that there's going to be a reduction of trucks, things of that sort there, so it won't look like a U-Haul store instead of, you know, a really nice country store with a gas station off there. So that's my 2 cents. Who else? Ms. Ball? See you.
I'm thinking. I think, I was like Tony said, the safety, I like the idea of making it a one-way in, one-way out. Entering from Fifth Street where there is a turning lane on Main Street will be safer. And in my mind, I couldn't speak to that professionally. But also it will certainly keep traffic from picking up on Main Street.
Yeah.
Because you can utilize that. There's still a turning lane right there, right? You can get there at Fifth Street.
Right.
So one way in, one way out, I feel like resolves a lot of those safety problems. I do think in our conditional use permit, we should consider limiting the number of U-Hauls that can be on the property, maybe no more than 6 at a time, to resolve the parking issue and also just to keep it aesthetically pleasing. If you're picturing a completely resurfaced parking lot and pumps with the canopy lights that are, you know, the more modern light and that lighting extending to the front of the store. I think it could fit in nicely in Main Street. If it's done well, if the landscaping's done well. And I think if we consider what Mr. Singh has already done inside of the property, in the short time that he's owned it and how it's improved. To some extent, he has my faith, you know, as a community member and as commissioner, that he would extend that to the outside the property as well, because he's allowed to make that investment.
People?
I don't have anything to say.
All right.
Are we gonna, do you guys want to set the conditions? So like Mr. Peck was saying, we have to set them to say exactly what we kind of want to propose up to council. No matter what the decision is. So maybe we just.
Okay. Yes, that's the,
I have another one. I think the dark sky lighting is, has to go in there as a condition. And I think allowing the pumps to be open 24 hours, I don't have a problem with that, but I do think that the lighting must be reduced. It would kind of be a shame to give him this permit and then say he can't sell gas at night. Ultimately, as a town, we're the ones missing out on revenue, if we tell, you know, if those overnights first. But I just think you have to reduce the lighting by whatever the standard percentage is to keep it from being intrusive to the neighboring, because there are residences very nearby.
some opinions of,
Mhm.
and I'm not different, yeah. Pete, that Beck said, I think, was that if the application comes in a certain way, that's the way the application is, paraphrasing, that it's saying, the hours was 4 AM to 8 PM Monday, through Saturday, and 7 PM Sundays. 1 hour.
I'm saying whatever you write in there, I'm gonna enforce literally. And if you want to include, after those hours, certain restrictions on lighting, then be specific to me that if you're gonna allow that nighttime business, under what conditions you're gonna do it. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking, I'm gonna throw out a suggestion to you. You can say you want a landscaping plan to approve.
Right.
You can do all that tonight. You can get together a list of things for us to consider before we make a final decision. Here are some things, go work with staff. We're going to continue the meeting to X date, and then come back with some specific language that we think captured your thought. You can make some presentations on some of the design things that you're talking about, and you'd have that. You know, the whole purpose of this is twofold, like I said, to establish a record for a decision one way or another. Based upon, you know, it's a rational it's a balancing test. You can make rational decisions either way. All you need is have reasons, and then it's what you place the greater weight on. I'm just trying to keep you on track within the guardrails, and to develop a good record and to be specific. It's right. If you had a full-time zoning administrator instead of part-time manager who's trying to fix your books and who's trying to hire people and who's trying to make the record straight here in ordinances, you would have a formal presentation with some more specific recommendations on conditions. For that, I apologize,
Okay.
but I didn't have the time to do it.
Understand?
And this process is set up, get all those points of views, and then package it, so this doesn't happen at the council meeting. Is that, you know, we waited, I mean, it may not go, I mean, it may go to the council that we don't think under any conditions, it's, you know, that's gonna be the final vote. But if it goes with conditions, then it goes with as many of those things carried out and very precisely written out.
But if we said, for instance, that we would propose that it have not two-way traffic in and out, but one way, but don't specify which way, and ask for VDOT's recommendation on that. How long does it take to get something from VDOT?
Well, it depends, but I mean, the traffic reports, I got them all the time over at Bowling Green, that's easy to get on the records, they're really good on that.
I just wanted that because
I haven't dealt with this often.
we don't need to know which one to go in and out of. I thought that.
But,
You're just trying to.
you know, they're very good, they know what the rules are,
One way.
and I'm sure I'm sure they have a preference on how they like traffic flow. Just remember, their business is to keep traffic flowing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we can reach out to them. I haven't dealt on that. I've dealt with the chief engineer up there. He's a good guy. But I can't answer your question how long it's gonna take.
Unfair.
But you can put as a condition that, you know, based upon consultations with VDOT, we're gonna configure the in and out in a manner that they think is most appropriate for that. You know, in a lot of cases in here, you know, on your traffic, if you're gonna have an increase in traffic, you could ask for a traffic flow study and things like that, projections, but to me, there's not gonna be any impact on the amount of traffic. Nobody's just driving over to that store, to do it, they're driving by. It just gets to be a question of what you're talking about, the flow in ingress, egress, in those issues, where, again, maybe we can get somebody from VDOT to come back to the council meeting or a continued meeting if you want. But
I'm inclined to agree with you, Ed, that which way is in and which way is out. That's the weeds, that's not really for us, so, but I do think it would be wise to put in the conditional use permit. One-way traffic, and then we can let somebody who knows more, is paid more.
All right, well, let's get these different things real quick. Anything else that anyone wants to throw out on the table, suggestions? And then I would suggest that we let staff then come together and put it in a form for us that would get it into the wording that we could actually make a definitive action with the conditions that would then go to the council for its review. We talked about the number of pumps. Yeah, we talked about the time, the number of pumps. I don't think anybody's going to dispute if there's pumps, how many he's saying, 2 pumps, 4 dispensers. Anybody have any reason to talk about that?
No.
Lighting, I'm hearing that there needs to be dark sky lighting and minimal increased lighting as a result of the additional one, and the whole complex, if you want to say.
The entire property, yeah, I think we should, if that's a concern, we should put that in.
I'm not hearing disagreement. The U-Haul rentals. Ms. Ball said maybe that we limit the number of U-Hauls. And right now, it's a large amount. They definitely must be doing a good business on it. I commend AJ for that. But if we're talking about needing 32 parking spaces, hard to visualize that because the parking spaces aren't on the lot right now.
Right.
But
So do we need to, know what that ratio is? Do we need to find out what that number is? Because right now,
I would just say in accordance with whatever is determined.
yeah, you can put that out, and again, as long as it's a conditional use permit is, you can put in there that he'll paint them and I can tell them the dimensions. We can figure out what dimensions the parking spaces should be.
Yeah. Good.
Do we have a number that we want to put on that?
It's,
I don't know if you said 5 or 6, she's saying 6.
I think 6.
Can I go back to the hours of operation, because I think we have to decide if we have the.
Yeah.
There was talk, but I don't know,
No, I know that Ms. Ball was saying 24/7 is okay with you.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that. I think we need to be specific in our permit because it's, the application is not necessarily clear.
I think 24/7.
Well, 24/7. So,
I'm skeptical about. So just because people pull in the day.
you know, or to say as submitted.
Yes.
It's interesting with the 24/7, because nobody really utilizes it much. It's just like a trickle here. It's like, if people don't feel safe to stop, they just keep
At
going.
night.
So you have a few people that just stop and, but it's not a lot of people coming in and actually lingering, because the other ones here, I never see anybody there. A few people, you know what I mean, like folks coming from the lake that couldn't stop there and they didn't want to because it was too, crowded there, so they come here and go in and so I'm saying it's not any locals or anything of that sort. that's why, you know, I'm in agreement with 24/7, but the thing with the lighting is definitely the key issue to that, you know.
And I would also go to application submitted that it again. We're looking for a request to be able to provide additional service for the store to bring the business in and all, as I understand it. And the gas is supposed to do that. The added exposure and the added usage after hours when no one else is there. So we see that as a community and as the zoning districts improve. So I would also go with the hours that were submitted by the applicant. So if we're doing consensus, that's majority to keep it the way that the application was submitted. Here's the next thing, the U-Hauls we
So
discussed.
what was the numbers on that? What was the final call on that?
3-2, just it's not a vote.
Okay, no, I mean, just with us, our thinking is, it's more.
If we need, wait, who said they wanted to keep it the same and who said they wanted to, they were fine with you seven?
So. The hours that are existing submitted an application now, so application
24/7, yeah, just,
you want it.
yeah, just making sure that the lighting is, that was the key.
I misunderstood you
Yeah.
because I was hearing you say that nobody hardly uses it then.
Right, that it would be, I was trying to speak to the point of it, no one will go and linger and things of that sort, so, sorry.
Then glad that you asked. I'm glad that he clarified. You're in favor of 27, so then it's 3-2 and. And again, this is not voting.
Right.
Consensus. You'll vote later. It's all put together. But the majority consensus is to allow for 24/7. Making sure that the lighting, which is the other part, is done in such a way to minimize overall impact. Theoretical time frame on the whole complex. Now, can we talk about the well? So the well is located, I can't tell you how many feet, but there was a depressed area. It's still a little visible. It's a depressed area. As you come in off of Fifth Street along the railroad track edge. And that's where the concern is. Don't know whether it has been sealed, don't know how big it was or how deep it is or what's in it. But though, and I do understand that Mr. Singh certainly wouldn't want to spend a great deal of money to come up with all of those answers, not knowing if the permit is going to be approved or not. Appreciate and understand the logic there, the cost that might be incurred. But I do think that that old well was a concern of mine from the first time that I heard that this was being considered, knowing that that was there. And again, I don't think tractor trailers and things should be parking on it or driving over it unless we know that it's safely encapsulated or whatever you do to old wells. It's just a point of question and concern. You could put ballards around that so that you wouldn't be likely to be driving over it, but that's going to take away from the traffic flow and some of the parking spaces. What would y'all like to do relative to the item of the well?
I believe Mr. Singh addressed the issue before. He said that they were going to have somebody come in and evaluate it.
I think the way to approach it is that the well's properly plugged and secured.
Right.
And if you can't meet that requirement, then the permit's not valid.
Yeah.
So
And at this point, we don't know that it is. That-
right,
Right,
but you say that's a requirement though, that it be properly plugged and secured.
to use the property, to use the property,
It's like if you can't meet,
Yes,
yeah, if
yes.
you can't meet the conditions you put in this, then you don't have a permit.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole point of putting the condition on it.
Y'all agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So. And he was Lynn, please note that as a point in our consideration, that would be. Required to be done. Now, is there any,
Before operational, right?
yeah.
You say before operational, or build, just to make sure that.
It's nothing.
now. I may need to be corrected on this, but when I looked at the sections on light commercial, there was a section on signs. It's 42528, and I think when I read that, it says that you can only have one sign on each street. There is one now for the supermarket. This would be another one in the Lavender. Thank.
I haven't read your sign ordinance.
Is it under, it's not under light commercial, is it?
It is what?
Say it.
No, it's gonna be a separate section.
It's a separate section of the code, okay.
Yeah. It's in that chapter.
Yeah, it's in the same chapter. It's fine. And with signage or building, code gets involved because they added to the.
What do you wanna just say, comply with the town code relating to the signage request that's listed in here?
I
We
mean,
don't know what it's gonna be. We don't know
Right.
how tall it's gonna be, electronic.
do we have to say that? If, I mean, presumably any sign that's not currently up would be,
Town code and have to go. That's the bill, they would have to.
it's building, yeah.
And I don't know that they need to come back to us about it, but they ought to have more information related to the sign for council. It gets to them. So that's.
And I mean, just with the old, the new logo, and things of that sort, it'd be an upgrade for just the little market, it may be, it'd just be like a new one sign encompassing all of it.
Right.
Put it all.
Maybe.
Well, we're gonna see.
I can't ask if it was public comment.
That's right. Okay. So, in wrapping up, we decide what we can do at this point, and I don't know that we've got everything written down satisfactory to recite what we've got in the conditional use permit.
Do we have that we want a landscaping plan? Did we discuss that we want a landscaping plan?
Can we would like to know that.
And we had talked about the pavement. And Mr. Singh has told us his intention is to repaint it all, but do we want that in?
Yes. Pavement, resurfacing and marking.
Yes,
Yeah.
marking those parking spaces.
The parking spaces. And the, traffic control marking. Being encompassed in that. Good addition. All right, folks. So
Do we get them to do this and we see it again, or do we just?
I'm gathering from Mr. Peck, talking with us related to this, that we can do, and we'll turn, that we can do that and ask for that to be put back in writing so that we know definitively what we're acting upon and passing along to council. Correct?
Which specific, I'm sorry, I was.
And the things that, I'm not gonna recite the specific things, But it was referred to or discussed or mentioned that we didn't have to act tonight. If we want these things done, we say what we want to have done. And you and staff and whatever else can be done to put it back in written form to present back to.
Right, if you want to continue the meeting tonight, instruct the staff to come back with a presentation. You're not voting whether you vote on these or not, but to come back with these in more precise language and providing you with the visuals and
At the next meeting?
things that you requested.
At the next meeting or? we got it?
Whenever you continue the meeting to, you can continue it to your next meeting, or you can continue it to us.
Is that continuing this public hearing?
Yeah.
We were,
Yeah.
or consideration or not the whole meeting? What are you speaking?
No, you don't have, you can continue this item. So you could just continue this agenda item to a date specific or to the next meeting.
Would like to, I would suggest. that somebody make that.
I just have one point of discussion. I think there's no way around it. We do continue it because we have made these, recommendations and we want to see this in writing as part of the conditional use permit. I would just like to see us do it in a very timely fashion. I don't want to see this drag on and on.
The next meeting will be Thanksgiving, so we talk about the stuff.
On the special meeting.
Yeah.
Well, if that is Thanksgiving, I'll put that.
It is.
It's the fourth Thursday.
But we could continue to our next meeting. Regular monthly meeting, if our monthly meeting goes up or back.
And
Then that's maybe.
Yeah, actually, that'd probably work better for me, because I got a lot of things, particularly with a new person. But, and I understand what you're saying, because this has been. For him, and I understand he's got to make business
So this would be 30 days, basically.
Yes. So, and I think it would be in good shape, however you decide to do it at that point. Is just point of clarification,
Yeah.
you don't have to call a special meeting, you could just continue this item to X next meeting or X date at a certain time, what have you.
I'm just worried that our next meeting will end up being December.
Oh, well, I guess it could be, but then again, we don't have to sit here and determine a date. If we say it's at our next meeting, which is scheduled for fourth Thursday is, then it's that date or the date that meeting
Move to.
moved to. Is that right? That sounds so like that would work.
How did you set your schedule early?
Or
Thursday.
Fourth Thursday, did you say fourth Thursday, or if it falls on a holiday, it's the preceding or the following day? You didn't say anything.
Yeah, we haven't gotten it. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get into the town. Thursdays, you have one holiday, Fridays.
Yeah.
But you should have that stipulation in there that if it falls on a holiday, if you don't want to meet on that holiday, what's the date that you're gonna fall back to?
There's go.
Third.
It is the 23rd, so. We could move it to the 5th one, which is the 30th.
Which, again, you can just pick a
It's a
date,
good time to find out if y'all are all available, if we change it to that.
whichever date.
Sorry.
You?
Yeah, it'll work. I just was thinking earlier, but yeah, it'll work.
I would say earlier is better
I
for
would
me, but
earlier about. Are you comfortable with being able to get what we need put back together for us if we move it up versus back 1 week?
it's at 5.
16th. I'd like
If we move it back to the 4th to the 3rd Thursday, that was the one that caused problems as to why we changed from the 3rd to the 4th Thursday. So moving it back to that Thursday is not good.
Okay. Is that basically 2 weeks?
I would just suggest. Let's not make it overly complicated and have to go through how many people we get. If we move it up, that's already a date that's been found not to work for us. We move it back 1 week to the 5th Thursday. Nobody should have things planned for 5th Thursday. They don't come every.
And if the town staff.
15th words would make it.
when?
Or 16,
16,
16.
so we're going to the 16th.
We can't do the same, that's Nicole, that's the day Nicole came.
Oh. The 30th.
Should we change the day of the week just as long as
So I'm looking now at, well, the fourth Thursday is actually. Third.
Thursday of the month, and think in November is Thanksgiving.
It's the fourth,
So it's always the fourth.
which is usually the last, which I see It's just not this year. Bonus Thursday.
Just as far as my own personal view, I know I talked with all of you, and the third Thursday did not work for more than one person. And the fourth now is a holiday, so that won't work. I would prefer to make the fifth, Thursday the 30th, because I can't think of anybody having a previously scheduled thing likely. Might be on vacation, might be going away somewhere, but
30th is fine.
you're one that's okay.
31st for me.
30th, okay. 30th, okay. 30th is best. All right.
So the 30th is our town meeting.
Then I need a motion from someone regarding the action on the planning commission at this point in time would basically be to have staff put together the matters that we discussed tonight with the conditions that are listed for consideration at our next monthly meeting, and for the necessary notices and all to be provided by staff to make our next monthly meeting on.
I would recommend that you have one motion, if that's what you all choose to do, that one motion be for staff to work with the applicant to, as you requested, then have and present it at the next meeting, and then have a separate motion
Okay.
rescheduling due to the holiday.
I have a procedural question.
Yeah.
He's essentially, we're asking him to change his application, right? Because our conditional use permit is dependent on what is in the application. And we don't like everything that's in the application. And we want to change that. Is my understanding correct?
Makes sense what you're saying.
Well, we're asking him to change just the conditions, not.
Right, not his entire application, just the conditions, correct, yes, just the conditions of the application. So this will go back to him, he will work with the professional staff that will come back to us. But we do not, we just recommended it. Okay.
Who wants to make a motion?
Motion forward. So changes. To those.
Okay.
The board.
Go to the council.
No, it's gonna come back to us.
Right, it's gonna, well, they have to do the work, right?
And bring it back to us. At that time, once we look at that and decide on it, then we say, oh. To the guy.
Which goes to staff.
The way I understand it, what you're doing is you're just directing staff to put these conditions in specific language, work with the applicant. He may come in and may say, that's a deal breaker for me. I don't know what the applicant's gonna say. You're asking us to put together conditions that you think you cut or want to consider that if it moves forward, we think these would be the appropriate ones. And then you make a decision at that meeting. It may be after weighing everything, we're gonna recommend denial. Maybe we're gonna recommend it with these conditions. Now, just a warning, all you're doing is doing the initial filtering for the council. I've been on the planning commission, came up with some great plans, then the legislative body says
No,
no or yes, but you don't have to do that, or it's they go the other way too. We want additional things on there. So you're just sort of
the first step.
the first step to filter it, put it in what you think.
We want to give the council a clean.
Yeah, and what you think is more compatible with the community, how, if you're gonna allow it there, what is the most acceptable manner in which to do it? And so all we're doing is working with that and bringing it back to you, just continuing the meeting until we do some homework, so you have more facts to look at for discussion at your next meeting. And then you take it from there.
So I recommend that we move forward with the changes that's set out on staff work with the applicant. And it comes back to us for our.
Back to us at our next meeting,
Right.
determine that meeting date later. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Second, this is no further discussion, correct? Okay, sounds good. All in favor of the motion, to get staff to put together and ready what we've done, working with the applicant, whoever else is necessary to work with. Signify by saying aye. And back to us at our next meeting, say aye. Anybody opposed? No, that passes 5-0. And now I would entertain a motion for us to go ahead at this point in time, because it relates to a matter on the table here, that we change our next meeting so that they will know what they're working with when they're talking to the applicant. And I think the consensus is for that to be November the 30th.
I move we need it on November 30th at 6:30.
Or our regular monthly meeting.
Regular.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so Paul made the motion, Mr. Williams seconded it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed. And can I take the liberty to caveat that with also asking staff to do the necessary public notices and so forth to accomplish with changing the date. Yes. All right, so thank you very much for the diligence and everyone involved in this. And would anybody need to take a 5-minute break and then have a Westchester Planning District talk with us about comprehensive plan? Letting you break or not? You're done. Okay. Now, all right, so we have tonight with us. Sandy Shackelford, who is Director of Planning and Transportation, that's what I saw on the website, and Curtis Spur. How do you pronounce that? Cooking up. Just like who also on the welcome. Thank you. I appreciate your waiting patiently for the discussion tonight.
Yeah, of course. I used to work in local government, so this brought me back. It's important work. We do have a presentation, but we could also, I know you all have handouts. Would you like us to bring a presentation up, or do you want us to go low tech and just let you refer to the handouts that have been produced?
I was thinking, go back to memory and see what that you were going to just first talk briefly about, y'all got to do, you got to do the comprehensive plan that's required. And y'all are offering to help us, and I'm very happy about that. I'll find all the planning.
Okay.
And then we can talk about that schedule and so forth. You've got the plan,
Gotcha. Yeah, we just have everything kind of organized in the PowerPoint, so we can sort of use this as just a guide on what to talk about. And if you want to follow along and you have the printout from the PowerPoint, yep, you can follow along if you want to. We probably don't really need it, but I'm gonna let Curtis start off. I'll try to do it. We don't need it, we'll just use it as a guide for us to remember what to talk about.
They have an extra needed up there.
You
sent it to us.
did.
I'm not going to comment. Actually,
It was a separate email.
I could be, because I had an earlier copy and it had the comprehensive plan in here. Okay, it had a comprehensive plan in here, and then it had their flow chart of schedule, what they were going to do, and cost. I didn't see it, but I probably did. Yes. All right.
Hello, everyone. I'm Curtis Copiato, and this is Sandy Shackelford. Over here. We are with the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, and you may be wondering what the heck is that? We are a regional planning body, so we provide support to our localities in the areas of transportation, environment, housing, community planning, all of the above, and much, much more. So today we're going to talk to you a little bit about potentially supporting you all and updating the comprehensive plan. This is going to be a very short presentation. I view this more as an opportunity for us to hear from you all and get your feedback on what would be helpful for you. So I guess we can just.
Well, they're not watching, so it's just for you.
Yeah, well, I need this, I know where I am. Let's talk a little bit about comprehensive planning, just a brief overview though. What is it? Why do we do it? Well, the why, we have the law, basically. The state of Virginia requires that every locality develops a comprehensive plan and updates it every 5 years. So that is an important thing to keep in mind. We are at the point in time where the locality is now required to update their comprehensive plan, seeing as to how you last updated it in 2018. So a comprehensive plan is meant to be general in nature and serve as a guide for the development of a community, considering the trends in the region and future anticipated growth. It is not supposed to be overly specific in nature. It is broad-based and general. It is a guide. Thank you. We do have some resources. You can't see it because this is PowerPoint, but if you look on your pieces of paper in front of you, if you want us to, we can send this out to you. There is this Albemarle County Handbook, which is a 12-pager that explains a brief rundown of what a comprehensive plan is, goes into a little bit more detail than we're going to right now. If you want to, that's an easy, quick and easy resource. It is Albemarle County's, but it will apply to your locality too, because it's related to the Code of Virginia. And then there's also this program that the Virginia Commonwealth University runs that allows you to get certified as a planning commissioner. It operates as follows. There's a opening session where you go and attend in person one day, and they give you some background and training that day. They give you some homework to do, essentially. You go home, you teach yourself, you learn a little bit more about what it means to be a planning commissioner, how planning works, and then you come back 2 months later for their closing session. And at the end of that, you become a certified planning commissioner. It's like you don't even fail, you just get certified, so you can't really fail. It's not a very high stakes test. So you get out of it what you put into it. Actually, I think Sandy you did it previously. So if you have questions about that, you can reach out to us. We can give you more details. We're happy to send along these links to you all too if you want them. Yeah, so again, the last update to the town plan was in 2018. We did support you all in that update, and TJPDC has the staff resources and the expertise to provide more support to you all if you so desire. And we have prepared a scope of work for the town's consideration. And yeah, I'll hand it over to Sandy to talk a little bit more about that.
Sure, thank you. So basically what we have done is what I think everybody did receive, and what maybe Mr. Cubey had passed along, is a scope of work. And basically this is meant to sort of show if the TJPDC was going to do the entirety of this project, this is the approach that we would take, and this is what we think that the resources needed would be for us to complete it. So we would start basically probably where everybody would start, by reviewing the current comprehensive plan and then looking at what the state code requirements are for comprehensive plans, and identifying areas where maybe there have been new regulations, or we think the comprehensive plan that is currently in existence could be strengthened to better meet the Code of Virginia. One of the requirements in the state code is that we would need to consider a future planning horizon of at least 20 years when you talk about comprehensive plans. Well, I don't know if it's 20 years, but you have to look out into the future, intended to guide future development. And so we would be looking at the current demographic data that has been updated since the previous comprehensive plan, and doing some high-level growth projections of that plan to help you all start thinking about what the future needs for the town of Mineral would be. One thing that's always really helpful to do, that is actually required, is that you survey the existing conditions in the town. So you look at the existing infrastructure, the existing road networks, the existing the existing land use, things like that, and you start looking at what are the current conditions and what are the kind of the where probably are they working well, and maybe where are there areas where we know that we need to be prepared to address those in the future. And then one of the things that we also do is we review related plans. So some of those could be other plans related to mineral, you know, maybe you have public utility plans or things like that, but we would also want to look at the County of Louisa's comprehensive plan and other regional plans as well, to make sure that as we are considering what happens in the town of Mineral, we're also considering what's happening around the town of Mineral and making sure that we're bringing all of that information together. And it's not till that point that we usually start talking about what the vision and goals are. So one of the things we would probably do with you all is to go through an exercise where we say, this is all the information that we've collected through all of these different efforts. Let's look at what your vision and goals were in the previous comprehensive plan. Do you think that these need to change? Do you see where maybe we want to enhance these or improve these? Do they still resonate with you? And we would have a conversation at that point. And so once we sort of develop the big picture vision and goals, then we can start talking about strategies and objectives. What does it mean to satisfy our goal? And so goals are usually kind of bigger picture. They're usually, you know, we want an improved transportation system, and then your objectives are going to be more specific. What does it look like to have an improved transportation system? And we would have those conversations. And then if you wanted to, we could also support the prioritization of strategies. You know, and this might depend a little bit on how extensive the recommendations or objectives are that you all come up with. If there's a lot of them and it feels like this is more than we could potentially move forward with all at one time, we could help sort of say this might be a shorter term goal and this one might be a longer term goal, and help work through what that looks like. And then we would also draft the final plan and make sure that we were also satisfied all of the required public hearing guidelines. I believe now your town council is here. If you know the answer off the top of your head, you can weigh in. I meant to research this ahead of time. I believe we could do a joint public hearing between the planning commission and the town council for the comprehensive plan. So you could do one, or you could do separate public hearings for both of those. That would be basically your purview. So just as a quick overview, we did take a quick look at the current comprehensive plan. Some of our initial findings is that there were some additional the state code is always updating the what's required as part of the comprehensive plan to address new issues that maybe reach a statewide consideration. So some of the things that your new comprehensive plan would need to address that doesn't currently are there requirements that it addresses affordable and manufactured housing, and that it addresses broadband. So those are at a minimum, those are new sections that would need to be discussed or acknowledged at some point in your comprehensive plan. And then I also want to bring this up, and I think the discussion you all had earlier was kind of interesting, related to maybe identifying some of the emerging issues that weren't necessarily on your radar when you prepared the previous comprehensive plan that might be now. So things like the electric vehicle charging infrastructure. One of the big goals of some of the new federal funding programs that are currently in place right now is a focus on equity. So talking about maybe how equity might fit into some of your priorities might be something that you could consider discussing. And then also in the last 5 years, especially, there's a lot of emphasis on resiliency and considering how you can consider the ability of new infrastructure to withstand sort of environmental conditions is also a big emphasis right now. So I just want to throw those out. I also just want to be really clear that this is basically a draft for you all to review and comment on. So Curtis and I are really open to hear, like, we want that this is your comprehensive plan. We want this to be a document that works for you all, that you all are going to believe in and buy into and feel like you can champion. So we really want to hear from you, what you like, what you don't like, what would be helpful, what you might want to do yourselves, what you would want us to do. But really, we just want to be a resource for you all to get a product that you're happy with at the end of this. So happy to answer questions, happy to hear your feedback.
Very good presentation, and I thought that y'all came up with this plan very quickly. It's impressive to me. I think that the council and the commission both are looking to get more in-depth than what they have in the past. Regarding, you said a joint public hearing, I'm sure that we can hold a hearing. But I'm wondering if the planning commission wouldn't prefer to have their own plan, their own public hearing, so that they're done, it's out of our hands and it's to the council for them to take the deciding vote. I've never been a proponent of joint public hearings because I don't see those as offering the planning commission and the council separate steps along the process. If we both have a public hearing at the same time, and that's the final one, then it's all put together and we will contribute a lot of things, but I would advocate for us only holding joint public hearings when it's an emergency. And it's, a push that something's got to be done by a very short order time frame. And the comprehensive plan, we want to get done soon. But how do y'all feel about that? Do you want to have a joint public hearing? Or would you prefer to have us get what we're doing done and then pass it on along? And then, the council deals with liking it, disliking it, and making their changes separate from us all being in the same room. Then we'll ask Ron what he thinks about it.
You also don't necessarily need to determine that right now.
Well,
yeah,
I would like to have kind of a conceptualization of some things, and then obviously some points here just to pass along, and we can probably wrap up what we need to do tonight with your input and all. I do point out that it says that they're ready to start November 1st, and from November 1st to November 30th, 4 or 5 things in that list they'll be working on. So I'm kind of anxious to let them get along with that. But we don't make the decision. All we can do is say we support it. I'd like to end up us getting a motion saying that we support this in some way to pass along to council so they can act on it. When is your next meeting?
The 9th of November?
Second Monday.
The 9th, second Monday.
So that's where I'm coming from. And I told the planning district that's the way I'd like to look at it, that we could get this along so that the town council can authorize the expenditures, and we can, just have an outline to work with. And the cost of this is roughly $16,000. But I would dare say the town has never gone through all these things before in developing the comprehensive plan, or it wouldn't have been 17 pages. It would have been a lot more. Comments?
Well, personally, it makes sense that we have the opportunity to do work and make it, and send it on to those. Because, being joint, we're not gonna get the work done. And so it's a time, less people, we can kind of talk amongst ourselves and kind of hash things out and come up with the best plan for them to vote on. So I agree with you 100% there.
I agree, too. As much as I love efficiency.
Yeah.
I think this is something that it's ours for 5 years and we have to own it. And so I agree with both of you. We have to do the work.
Everybody else agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I would also like to just real quickly say that if y'all look at that chart, it's talking about the first 5 positions. I think that they pretty much do that because that's their expertise. They got the demographics and growth projections, and we'll review our existing plan and all. But there are things in here that we're supposed to be doing that, to my knowledge, the town of Memorial has not ever done before. It says capital improvements program. Certainly you think we have one, but I don't think we did. And we're supposed to by law, as a planning commission, be offering recommendations for that. So I think again, that's applicable and we need to engage in some way to assist with that. The transportation infrastructure, surely we need to. Public utilities is a big issue with our water and sewer here right now that they're dealing with stuff like that. Very important. Historic cultural resources, yes, we're talking about wanting, I think, to protect Menlo Louisa Avenue. I don't know if you do that with an overlay or if you, I really don't know how you go about doing it, but I think it's probably a consensus that we should address those two as being the main thoroughfare through our town, and that we want it to be as presentable and attractive to bring in the businesses, the public, visitors, tourists, whatever.
Is there a way to incorporate, I mean, and this may not be the time to do it, but I think, you know, with Amazon coming into town, and also the train station being up for reopening, I mean, those are some huge things that we are not prepared for and really need to be in this country. And, you know, indirectly, directly, I mean, these are huge things that could take place, and we're almost too late, but we, you know, it's time to kind of incorporate those things, find out really what is the timeline of the train being open over here.
Following up on his suggestion, he's absolutely right. I'm told that the state of Virginia has bought the whole CSX line and the train station sits right there. They don't use it actively other than storage, from what I understand. And that's used by the branch, whatever you call it. Yeah, Buckingham branch. And they use it a lot. But I think that we want the powers to be aware that the town of Menlo considers that historic. It is historic. We want to preserve and protect it. And that if there's ever any intent to dispose of that, we want to be made aware of it, not find out after it's already been sold or some other action take place. We, in fact, would love to own it. I think that would, you know, that they'd give to us would be great. And that happens sometimes. It's happened recently. So anyway, that is something that's important for us. Economic development we need to do. The housing and parks and recreation, suddenly we're getting expanding parks here in the town. Broadband infrastructure. Can I encourage you, Ron, at your next meeting to ask for a broadband update so that we in the planning district know where that stands? Sure. I haven't heard anything. Ron, get that.
My understanding is we're a year out. We're about a year to 18 months out from fiber.
Being operational for us.
Yes, yeah. We'll be last to get it because we already have
Salted
cable. So the way their maps. Absolutely.
She's having something not as high as fast as we. Okay. Louisa comprehensive plan, all the regional bike and pedestrian plan. I couldn't let us go tonight away without speaking to this because Blair has heard so many times. You want to see bike and pedestrian trails or markings in the roads and things to enhance.
And when we're talking about equity, it's gonna play in because if you have something that you're more accessible.
Exactly. Get a walking place around town, things to see. So we got to identify what they be, that sort of stuff. Established visions. Anyway, that's enough said. I think if it's fair to say we can, you know, revise this with, you know, I have a hesitancy. I wrote you and told you of doing a combined one. You know, maybe at the end, but I guess we need to be coached on for us to have a public hearing for all that we've done and what we're ready to pass along. Do we have to have a public workshop for individuals before that public hearing?
So all that is required specifically in the code based on my most recent read through it, is that you are required to have a public hearing. However, I would say that it is probably best practice to engage the residents in the community prior to that public hearing. So we have scoped in one public webinar or public meeting. There is some flexibility on when exactly that is held. But what we have proposed is, after you all have kind of drafted your visions and your goals generally and started developing some objectives and recommendations. And I believe the idea was that we could put something out for the public to respond to and sort of tell us, are we getting this right? Are we not getting this right? What are we missing? You know, it gives them an opportunity to sort of have something to respond to versus maybe keeping it too conceptual or high level in nature, which.
So it's nothing. Been a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree.
And we have also scoped in 3 different work sessions with, these could be either with the planning commission or with a combination of the planning commission and the town council. So that we can make sure that as we are drafting some of the visions and the goals, priorities, things like that, that we're not getting too far outside of where you want. We want this to be your plan. So we don't want to, you know, draft things and then ask you to rubber stamp it. We want to make sure that we're hitting the things that are important to you all.
Sounds good. So how do you feel about just the likelihood that council will be important?
I think, I mean, I can't speak for officially anybody but myself, but I think it makes sense. I will say on a dual public hearing, everyone on council has an adversity to that. We don't want to see a combined public hearing. I think we've witnessed that in the previous administration and it was a debacle. So we don't want to repeat the mistakes. But then I'll also point out, so for hearing from the public, you know, town hall will be open December 9th. We can do a survey while they're meeting the mayor. To make it a social event, they'll come in, meet the mayor, get some hot cocoa, do a survey. What do you want to see in the town's content?
I love that you said that because I was thinking that a big piece of a successful comprehensive plan is going to be community buy-in.
Absolutely.
And I know that the last time the county did theirs, they tried to get some of that buy-in, but there wasn't maybe necessarily the turnout. If you're already gonna have people here.
And the mayor will be here.
It could be an invitation to put into a water bill thing, you know, for that.
Please join us, right?
And it'll be on TV, the radio, the sign out front, banners in front of the museum. We've all advertised. We've been advertising it.
Capitalizing me. It sounds like a good idea. When is that?
December 9th.
So what I would suggest in response to that is that we won't be at a point where we have goals and objectives, but that might be a good opportunity to sort of say, what are your priorities? Or, you know, maybe a brainstorm, maybe it's like a brainstorm, or maybe we have like whiteboards where people can just like write stuff.
Give people the opportunity to like create almost a vision board.
Yeah.
They're in here visiting already. We can be here kind of directing that.
Yeah.
At the beginning with openness to input, asking for it.
Yes. Say we're about to start this process. So we've just begun this process. We want to hear from you. What's important?
I mean, only technically 5 people, because I'm not technically here, but technically we're only 5 people in a town of 500. So, you know, we're not.
growing.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think I should entertain a motion from somebody, the commission, to having reviewed this draft, what are we calling it?
I would say this is a scope of work.
Scope of work, okay. For the Town Jefferson Planning District to assist the Town Planning Commission and Town Council in revising, updating, and approving a new comprehensive plan for the town of Mendel. And for us to send this on to council with our recommendation to engage them and to discuss it at their next meeting, November 9th, I think you said.
November 9th.
Yeah. Could I have your motion to that effect?
That was a long.
Got it.
We send the scope of work on to the council. for their approval so that we can start work.
Ask Terry.
Ball and Zachary, Washington, to go ahead and send this forward with our recommendation to council. Next meeting. And I would like to say that the planning district is here and can hear our desires and if we vote on it. So I would encourage them in good faith if they want to be involved in starting November 1st, you know, no, we don't have a contract, but we'll have a contract hopefully. Shortly thereafter in November.
Sounds like we have a public meeting, we need to start planning, so.
So any further comments or discussion before I call a vote on this? Hearing none, all in favor of endorsing it and sending it to the town council at the November meeting, say aye. Opposed? Hearing none, that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I hate to go a lot longer, but if anybody's got to go tell them. But I so wish that I could get, you know, just item by item on that list that I put together, trying to kill it, put it off, or yes, that one's okay. So you can get some progress on that. And I don't know if anybody else brought it. Anybody else bring ideas? I encourage you to.
And I think we can design some of them.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're related to like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So, if you don't mind then, I'm gonna ask you to put in your materials, my list. Now,
Before the comprehensive plan. Right? After, oh no, it's the biggest one. I moved. Not where.
well, these are in my new work. Okay, so let's go through it currently. Item number one, Foster preservation recognition of old homes and buildings in Mineral Avenue, West Town limits. Along Louise Avenue from North Town, Lakeland, really this town historic downtown center. I don't know if you like to call it the downtown center or give it another name, but you know, specialized, bringing special attention to that area. And it is important to note that I'm saying Louisa Avenue is from the north end where you come off of 522 into the town and only to the fire department. Because after the fire department, Louisa Avenue continues on. But that's off of the main drag. I don't think it should be including the whole Louisa Avenue.
Agreed.
Where Mineral Avenue, it is the whole thing. That's clear. Right?
It's like an H, not quite, it's the number 4.
Yeah.
Just thinking.
Yeah. General concurrence on that?
Absolutely.
And again, we can give this to them and they can try to, you know, put this together into some of the other stuff we already got. Number 2, promote and enhance the historic downtown center area with replacement of existing streetlights with older style, historic style streetlights that also provide for patriotic flag design or banners. Pursue, evaluate the placement of electrical lines underground along that HDC area, those 2 streets. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Again, we'd have to get grant. But
It's very excited, but then you remember, it's not what's going down, it's what we would like. Or don't have, then we'll see it.
so you put it in your comp plan so that others see your intent. And you protect so that time can.
Yeah.
And you chip away.
Yeah. Right, number 3.
We've accomplished 6 items in the comp plan. We've accomplished 6 in 9 months.
Oh, that's great.
In 9 months.
The
Administrative.
LED light out front or messaging and LED, what's going on. What other things you use?
Now you're gonna ask him, he's like, "Well,
You.
with 6 things that we were talking about it, I'll get back to you.
Okay, you keep. Number 3, no multifamily housing, townhomes or condos shall be permitted in the town historic center along Midway Avenue or the portion along the Avenue. And right now, you got two classifications from one end to the other of that, and it's either limited. Yeah, light commercial or general commercial.
So you're speaking about like on the main thoroughfare there, like on Mineral Avenue?
Okay. And the Louisa from basically where the Baptist church is over there, where you can get down to the fire department, and really First Street for the little section between the fire department. I don't even mention that, I guess that. You're not.
I guess that little section, but that should be included in that, and that's where the museum is. but-
Right, right, so you would have to pay the First Street for that portion.
So like, talk about 55 plus, you know, those are the ones that we want to come in this community, you walkable community. Well, they spend money.
Not to disagree with you at all, I'm saying that in my view, the multifamily housing, the townhomes and condos, there is plenty of residential, limited or residential general, most of the rest of the town is, and you have a PUD that I would envision, you know, what's happening on those two streets to be, you know, people living above the building. Or again, if you look at like commercial, it says that you can have houses there, you already got houses there. Because it allows all the things that in residential also be in light commercial, except for these things, not multifamily. Without a conditional use, you can have them if you get a conditional use for that. But so that's all I don't want to see people trying to put the apartment buildings in sections in between the houses and the businesses that are here. And you don't have to agree with it. Yeah, but that's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
What's a
Mixed use, like a mixed use.
Right, yes, we don't have that designation in the town of Mineral, but
Use, but that's one particular designed area that was approved 15 years ago, never got built, but the zoning is still there. But
right, now I see where there's PUD, is that the same thing as mixed use?
Yeah.
I guess I just always thought PUD was specifically like apartments and condos, only residential, but multifamily.
Oh,
So it could be mixed.
I'm thinking mixed use then.
well, you can
Like where you have shops with apartments above them, the shops with a single, but I guess any kind of apartment would be considered.
I believe that the one for the town 15, 20 years ago, put in there that they were going to give land for a new town hall. Have this one. So, you know, that would have been commercial or business or whatever. That's, you know, so.
And there were shops facing First Avenue in that region.
Yeah, so you might have apartments, you might have condos, you might have single family homes. You might have businesses, you know, on the bottom, like they do over in Spotsylvania, where you go into the Spotsylvania courthouse area and then. Shops and businesses and. Anyway, is it okay just to leave it that way, or do y'all want me to strike out the stuff about no multifamily housing along these two streets? And again, it's only those streets that I was talking about.
Not the whole. Be opposed to seeing shops, like what the girl who owns the building, that she's. What is her name? I can't think of her name. Miss Noon, yes, Debbie Noon, is that her name?
Yeah.
Like how she wants to put.
Yeah.
One, you know,
She would-
one residence above and a store below or some type of business.
I think that's exactly what.
I think that's what we should be looking for on Main Street. I would prefer not to see a giant apartment complex.
Well, that's what Main Street was originally, was businesses and.
Right.
Yeah.
It's historically, it could keep the integrity of even though pretty much anywhere you would put those, they would have to be new buildings. I'm just thinking of places where, other than this Moon's building, I can't think of another one that's
It used to be the old pharmacy that they tore down because of the bad condition, that
With that,
is
between
part,
the station and
yes,
the
and Whitlock.
attorney,
So that had an apartment,
right?
The Mercantile has apartments above it. They are not in
They're not.
livable condition, but they have, there's 4 apartments.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that kind of development. It would obviously be new buildings, but it could be in keeping with the historical.
The town is involved with Maine, but they're not active. And that's some state organization that puts out planning for all this kind of stuff. We need to be involved with them and let them tell us, you know, what works and help us follow the planning district. I'm sure the planning district very well. But
Well, and the APA recommends in historic districts within historic towns that you actually put covenants in place, so if somebody wants to build in the parking lot next door, in town, if they can, but it has to meet appearance wise, that based on the facade, it has to sit in that historic atmosphere. So that's gonna be something I'm bringing up to council, is to get them to act on it. So that when we allow for new buildings on Mineral and Louisa Avenue, they have to conform to the historic appearance.
I think that's a good idea. And we do have to develop guidelines to have available.
Right.
First, if you don't have them, you can't expect people to.
Right.
Does our current zoning prohibit that from happening in a light commercial?
It doesn't provide for it.
There's a lot of them. It seems super big.
And again, zoning started back in 1970. That's when laws from the state came about to require them. These houses have been there 50, 60 years.
Right.
So to me, I think it's pretty smart. That we put it together to say that in the limited commercial that you can have housing. Because you wouldn't think of that. I heard someone saying that, you know, that the ones that have business are conforming with the houses on them. That's not so. And allow individual housing, multifamily. But anyway, I'm gonna leave 3, but that doesn't get changed. So I'm just saying we revisit 3.
Well, I think we don't wanna see, 5-story tall apartment buildings on, look next to a historic Baptist church, you know what I mean, like that's not.
Maybe the end of limit, 3 levels max.
We currently have a limit in our code to 2 levels, not exceeding a certain.
Like commercial or
In the whole town.
2 stories.
2 stories or so many feet, whichever comes first.
All right, well, so that can be looked at. So we don't really have to address it, it's already did.
Right, well, and that's not really the purpose of the, right, this is just to cast a vision.
Code needs to be looked at.
Right, exactly, it's totally different, that's a different meaning.
Number 4, no advertising may be placed inside of existing building, future buildings constructed in the historic district, except for advertisements that are related specifically to that business conducted within the building. Or murals, all murals or art drawings on the outside of the building, inside of the HDC must be submitted as a plan. The planning commission of town council for their review and approval. Guidelines and restrictions should be have to be shall be developed and upheld. Now that needs attorney review. I don't know what you can and can't do that way, but I can tell you my thought was writing that you don't have somebody that's got inside of the building and they're putting it out there so that they can advertise to anybody else and charge them for stuff to go up there.
You're building an art historic district is not a billboard.
Right, and again, this is just talking about those 2 streets that designate as street. You know, don't need advertising. That is not related to that business. Murals,
Should be.
my wife and somebody else, can't think of who happened to run into up at Warsaw That's what I'm trying to get at. Warsaw has them all over the place. They have really nice. Different sizes, large ones, little small ones, but they have lots of. And they all are in very, very good taste. I know you don't want to hear me talking about taste because that's not going to be in the word because that's too.
Question was, maybe I'm that out for a minute. But you're talking about signs and advertising. Are you categorizing a mural as a sign? I hope our. Not your.
I'm addressing two different things belonging in the same paragraph. The signs I don't want to see. Commercial signs for businesses that aren't really, what kind of business building around over there? I know, I didn't know like that.
Well, but so. When it happened, it's something that, hadn't been addressed in the code. So people can do whatever they want.
Right.
So, I mean, well, we don't want to see that. Because it really does make, somebody. Not mention, commenting on hers, but somebody could put something crazy about whatever.
I've seen some crazy flags.
In other places where the locality tries to limit and control stuff like that, they say, you can't have billboards without restrictions. And you can't have signs bigger. Everybody finds a way to get around it. They buy a truck and they put something on the side of the truck and they stick it out in front of the know that. That comes directly to my mind.
Well, I guess the question that I would have is, I know this is your comprehensive plan update kind of ideas.
Yeah.
But one of the third things I saw is that your sign ordinance, and this I would have briefly discussed with your zoning administrator, but your sign ordinance is in very strong need of revision. That may not necessarily need to be part of your comp plan. You may just need to revise the sign ordinance. That's.
LED lights without conditioning. And it was already because of the pandemic, they were starting to be offered in front of so you could give people messages they really needed to know. And that seemed like a good thing to do, but somebody on council was saying, you gotta. So I don't know. I think it got changed, but whether it ever got in their book, I've never seen it. That's something fascinating to you that there's some that were kept.
Well, these are all things I'm going over. I'm going through.
Way out.
Well, this is a chicken and an egg situation though, right? Because we're casting the vision for what needs to be updated. Exactly.
That we want the advertising in at least on those two streets to be related to that business only. If that can be written up in some fashion, that's what we want to do.
So will we allow businesses to, just say politicals, or I'm just thinking of like.
Very strongly, let me see if I can maybe put something together in coordination with your zoning administrator. And maybe I can help that conversation rather than the conversation going places that maybe you don't intend for it to go at this point.
Shouldn't, but I can throw out since you brought that up. Most places don't allow political signs on their public property. Is that?
That's correct. That's correct. That is a limitation.
And then that was going. And not. So do you have to pass an ordinance, pass something that prohibits it?
I think you got some practical terms.
Yeah.
Obviously, somebody has to have in their head every piece of public right of way, every piece of public property in a locality. And then whether or not it's there, and then they have to go through the enforcement process. And while some localities have enforcement staff on their zoning department, most don't.
Yeah.
Unless you're Virginia Beach, and boy,
they
have a lot of fun on the zoning enforcement staff in Virginia Beach. But that may not, when you have a staff this size, that may be a limitation.
We can look into the size things like that.
And I may be able-
But, council couldn't, I think, they take the need to address it.
I think, and I think then your input, but it will cover a lot. So,
That would be on what I had here. Tell me what you think about the thing on murals. Is there something we need to know about mural?
well,
Because we wouldn't really want to encourage that if we didn't have some say though over what it ended up being.
have to be full disclosure before I talk about murals. Although it's not really relevant, I want you all to know, my older daughter is the executive director of the Art Center in Orange.
Oh.
And their mural project, so please be aware of that. From a purely legal perspective, however, when you start talking about murals, what's the difference between if I paint a mural with 76 colors on the side of one building and you paint a mural that's 2 blocks with 2 different shades of blue on the other? Is one painting and one mural? If you begin to, I didn't want an answer to that. The reason for that is you then start talking about content. There are very, very strong limits, both by case law and code, as to what a locality can touch on when it comes to content. So that's part of what I want to put together. But my recommendation because of that would be that murals not be considered signs. That if it is, let's say you're talking about a commercial sign. If it is a commercial sign, if you have a chicken restaurant that has a painting of chickens being cooked on the side of it, then that's or even if it has a picture of like those noodles that are all piled together and look like the fried chicken. I think you can see that may be a sign. I mean, you can define what a sign is slightly by content. But
that makes perfect sense.
I think we should be really careful, but at this point, my recommendation. Yeah.
There's sign and there's art.
Yeah. I can tell you the one mural we have, the town prompted that and raised money, took donations, sold Mrs. Abercrombie's artwork and about the train station and raised money. And then they paid the artist, Mr. Brown, I think his name is forward.
Yeah.
To do that. So that one, the town, whatever you call it, they envisioned it and they authorized it and they paid for it on the other person's land who said it was okay on that building. Town now owns that, it was donated to them. So again, murals, maybe Warsaw needs to be contacted. How do they have something? Turn out so nice.
There's a whole other set of discussions about public art and how those, and those discussions come from the art side and they come from the legal side and they come from the property side. A huge piece of discussion. And a good thing for consideration.
I'm glad that you're here because I think that you've now discussed it and now have a better understanding of it. I don't know that we can find the right wording, but I think that we can leave that there and ask that the planning district and our attorney and staff, look at the contents there. If we see that we'd like to prevent signage for anything in this particular district, if we can create this district, whatever vehicle you use, and not do what I already talked about, and that the thing about murals be explored. What could be done to encourage murals in some way, but have some sort of regulations on them. Maybe it's just regulations, not approval. Maybe you said create guidelines, they gotta follow them. I don't know. We just leave it at that. We like to have murals, but we need help in determining how best to accomplish.
So how far do you go on in this? Cause I'm gonna have to soon.
Okay, have you read any of them? Does anybody have any strong or objection at all to any particular ones?
I thought it was very much in line with like some of the things that were in the old comprehensive plan that did not get done. So it just kind of, it breathed life into the old one, making it new again. So I mean, yeah, I was good with everything because I had gotten it from you. Yeah.
That's the nice thing about getting it ahead of time. You can know what's on the table.
Each of you tell me your views on this, just keep coming around this way. Oh,
Oh, I liked it. I just made notes, but I mean, I think it's, it's good. We can combine some of the stuff together, like with the traffic pattern and how to preserve some areas and, maybe we can talk about how to do that. I don't know if you do that in a spring plan, but there's things that you can do to preserve the main streets and have traffic either go around or do flyovers where the traffic goes under. I mean, that's expensive, but you can also tag VDOT to come in and do a study and help people on that standard.
that's good.
Something I'd really like to see in here, because it's certainly something that the town of Mineral is already doing with help from the community, in maybe official way, specific parade route. I mean, there are several parades that happen
Yeah.
in Mineral, and it seems like more and more organizations are leaning towards Mineral. I know the Christmas parade wanted to be in Mineral. I'm not sure what logistically happened. I hope I didn't step in it saying that. I truly don't know
Yeah.
logistically what happened when they're back in Louisa, but I do think, I mean, there is something about a small hometown parade. I say this coming from the land of parades, love parades.
So you're thinking of some sort of guide?
Like a designated parade route,
Right.
designate, I feel like already so much of this is done, but just having it in that plan as part of the vision, will help people reading the plan to see what we want it sounds like.
Well, one key thing I believe is that for there to be a parade, council has to ultimately approve it because they have to pretty much shut down the street for a given time.
Right.
They have to tell VDOT, think if that works, that, that it's okay. That you're understanding.
I mean, I think that's a good,
Right.
like.
Right.
You have to have procedures in place for that.
Yeah. So we ought to develop some sort of guidelines to formalize the method that the parades are conducted in the town. And
Yeah. I don't think they're, to be clear, I don't think they're done poorly now. I think they are done well, and we should document that so that we have a legacy of succession. Exactly. So that when another council is in, another planning commission is in, and all of these organizations that are putting on the parades have new directors and people in charge of them, everybody already knows.
I think that's good. Definitely a good addition. Anything else? Look. Ron.
Only thing I'd like to see is a plan to promote and celebrate the town's birthday on an annual basis.
So what a good.
April 2nd is the day that the town is incorporated. So I would love to see in our comp plan so that it becomes more of a vision and a mission, that we celebrate the town and its.
Yeah. On April 2nd.
April 2nd.
Mr. Chairman, before I take off, somebody knows how to set the alarm and stuff when they leave.
I'm sure I would have.
Yes, we just. Oh, right. Yeah, we're about to end. I don't have a key anymore. No, that is one of the things. So I encourage you still, if you think before, get it passed along. But if it's okay with you all, I will provide I will just tell them, they already have a copy. The extra minutes that I've gotten in the discussion. Okay.
Right. This is really good.
I did that a long time ago. Anyway, I think the game's got a great talent. Let's
keep it that way.
talent to make it better. Yeah. All right, anything else come before council tonight? So how we want to officially do this, we're getting back to where we were before. We can adjourn this meeting. Right?
Because you've already continued that.
But we've already continued that.
Yeah, I don't think
We've already said we're going to meet again. 30th.
Yeah.
Next Thursday, November. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Right, okay. What is that motion? This is why. Second, all in favor? 5:30. Sorry to be so late.